Day for many areas. Plenty of sunny spells. It's still relatively mild out there as well. The winds will start to pick up across western areas of Wales, southwest, particularly Northern Ireland later on in the day. And when we do see any prolonged sunshine, temperatures will climb towards the slightly higher teens. But for many of us, we're in the mid-teens. It's a degree or so lower than it has been lately, but still pretty pleasant in the sunshine. Now notice in the west, particularly across Northern Ireland, we're seeing the next batch of rain through Saturday evening, so pretty wet evening to come, and that wet weather will likely push its way eastwards through the rest of the weekend and into the start of next week. There is some uncertainty in the details of that, but it's for sure that it will stay mild wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're giving you the chance to win your entire Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Dancing professional and entrepreneur AJ Pritchard. AJ, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Last saw you when you looked exactly the same as you did now a few years ago. But are you shocked by this news?
I think they're iconic, aren't they, Tess and Claude? But I think, like, people kind of worry, like, is this the magic of the show that's missing? But I think the magic of Strictly is the pros, the crew, the hair, the makeup, everything that it is. But I think my one worry is making sure that when you're going to, like, replace somebody like Tess and Claude, it needs to be somebody that is quirky, original. Like, let's take, like, French and Saunders. Like, you're thinking of yourselves now, aren't you? It's that thing, because they are so well-placed to bounce off each other. And I think that's what their role is. Like, they do it so perfectly. That is the scary part. How do you replace such an iconic double act, a duo?
And they've been at the core of the show for such a long time, starting off in different positions, but both there for 20-odd years. I mean, it's just an extraordinary... Does this sort of score or underline some of the troubles that the show has had in the last few years? A few scandals with participants, viewing numbers down a little bit. Have we passed peak Strictly?
I don't think so. I think the one thing with a show like Strictly is you're going to have different viewings over each year. You're going to see that kind of... Maybe you could say it's slightly plateaued at the moment, but I do feel like with the right cast, the right celebrities coming in, the right pros, like, it is so addictive. And when you suddenly sit down to watch it for, like, half an hour, you're like, OK, I'm attached to this journey now. I want to see how this is going to progress. I think that's the secret to these shows, really casting that celebrities and the pros themselves to really make it like, oh, I'm attached to that person now. I'm invested. I have to. My dinner plans have changed now because I need to watch Strictly tonight.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Very, very good afternoon to you and a happy Friday. It's 3 p.m. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News, broadcasting for you live across the UK. All the very latest news, debate and analysis all the way through until 6 p.m. We have got a stonking show for you today, and here's what's on your menu. Breaking news from this afternoon, the manhunt is finally over. The Algerian sex offender who simply wandered free from Wandsworth Prison has been recaptured in Islington. And a frightening new poll has revealed that 85% of Brits thinks the country is divided, with 50% saying Britain's culture is changing too quickly. Now, you can imagine the report's authors blame Brexit, but our open borders, two-tiered treatment of minorities and a totally out-of-touch political class actually the true causes of our continued social division. And the founders of Raise the Colours were so appalled by the invasion of Britain, they went to France to film it. You can see there the boys in action. What they witnessed simply blew them away. Packed dinghies, armies of young men, clueless gendarmes, simply standing by and doing nothing. Well, fresh off the ferry from their incredible voyage of discovery, the lads will join me live in the studio in Westminster in a short moment's time to exclusively tell GB News viewers their astonishing tale. And it's another day and it's another nightmare poll for Sir Keir Starmer. Today, GB News can exclusively reveal that the entire Labour cabinet could be wiped out. And that includes Sir Keir Starmer himself. Caught in a deadly pincer movement between Reform and the Greens, is Labour hurtling towards oblivion? And as Greater Manchester Police continue their manhunt for the arsonists who attacked a war memorial in Stockport. Today, I'll ask an SAS veteran what could drive such mindless thuggery. And as we approach Remembrance Sunday, I'm absolutely overjoyed to be joined by a Chelsea pensioner for a rousing rendition of a great British patriotic hymn. What a wonderful show.
I vow to thee, my country, all earthly things above and time.
Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. I am on tenterhooks waiting for that rendition by the Chelsea pensioner. What a wonderful treat ahead of Remembrance Sunday. But before that, what a show we've got for you. Let's start with the breaking news from earlier on this afternoon. Mercifully, the manhunt is finally over as the Metropolitan Police confirm that the Algerian migrant sex offender Brahim Kader Sharif has been rearrested after his accidental prison release. Well, it's a complete and utter farce, but at least it has some kind of happy ending. GB News' Home Security Editor Mark White joins me now. They sought him here, they sought him there, they sought him everywhere. In the end, he got collared in Islington, right? The public caught him, not Plod.
Well, indeed, which really goes to emphasising how important it is to get the picture and the name of an individual out there so that the public can help. They did exactly the same with Hadush Kubatu when he disappeared. 48 hours later, he was captured thanks to his image being out there in the public, and this image too was out there in the public, and that helped identify this Algerian illegal immigrant who the police received a call at 11:23 this morning. They were on scene very quickly and arrested him at 11:30. I think we've got some images we can show you. Our colleagues at Sky News filmed this just as he was being arrested.
If anything happen, protection.
So it was quite an unusual and, for those watching, probably quite amusing as the officer was trying to ascertain if that was indeed the individual he was after. And he was given another name, not the name of Kader Sharif. And he said, well, you look like this guy. He was comparing him, I think, to images on social media. I think he said he had a wonky nose, which made him stand out. But one of the most relieved men, of course, in the country is the Justice Secretary, David Lammy, who's put out a statement welcoming the recapture of this individual.
It's an absolute farce. It really and truly is, but at least there's some form of happy ending. Mark White, thanks for that update. Well, I'm delighted to say I'm now joined by the Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch. Kemi, welcome to the show. A pleasure to have your company. You must be delighted that Ibrahim Kader Sharif is back in jail because David Lammy blamed you for his release.
Yes, it's complete nonsense. They blame everybody else except themselves. They are in charge right now. If someone was released last week by accident, it's their fault. It's not the fault of the people who were there 2 years ago. And right now, what I actually want to see is this man deported. We're spending too much money keeping foreign prisoners in our jails. Our party's policy now is just deport all foreign criminals. No ifs, no buts.
It's great that he's back behind bars, but there have been 2 simply wander out in this past week from Wandsworth, and the numbers have doubled in the last year. Have you got any confidence that our streets are safe because of this Labour government?
No, I don't. There's clearly something going wrong at Wandsworth Prison. But let's remember that these people have been accidentally released after David Lammy said he had instructed everybody, got a grip, carried out a review, all sorts of things because of the sex offender who caused all those problems in Epping not that long ago. So they don't know how to fix anything. They are out of their depth, they're floundering, and that is why I am not confident that the streets are safe. Because I can look at all of the Labour cabinet, and it's all of them, it's not just Lammy, it's all of them. They don't know what they're doing, they haven't got an agenda, they are making a mess, they need to get a grip.
Kemi Badenoch, I'd like to get your opinion, if I could, on an alarming opinion poll that's been released today, claiming that 84% of the British public believe that the country is more divided now than it ever has been before. What's your take on that?
I think it is, an unbelievably sad state of affairs, and all of us, politicians in particular, need to do something about it. I mean, I'm here right now just outside the Imperial War Museum, just doing some research around Remembrance Day. Those are the sorts of things which I feel that we're forgetting as a country. I've met veterans now at VE Day, VJ Day, who are telling me that they think people are forgetting what they fought for. I think there was even a clip today of a veteran saying that the country isn't any freer than what they were fighting for back then. We've got a huge job to do. We've got to bring the country together, and right now I believe the Conservative Party is the best party to do that. I know we've made mistakes before, but this is something I really care about and which I'm working towards.
Kemi Badenoch, the report's authors, as you'd imagine, they blame Brexit. They blame the culture wars. They probably blame GBNews if they could. They blame anybody, actually, but the truth, perhaps the truth is something else. It might be open borders. It might be a media and a political class that call anybody who disagrees racist. Would you actually say the problem has just been liberalism?
What I would say is that it is completely stupid to blame Brexit or to blame GB News. These problems have been seeded a long time ago, and it's not just happening here, so it can't be Brexit. The US is having similar problems. They didn't have Brexit. France is having similar problems. What we are seeing is that as time goes by and the previous generations who understood what was fought for and lost are disappearing, we are getting complacency. A lot of people don't understand what it took to get this country wealthy, what it took to get it working. I want us to get Britain working again. That's why I keep talking about welfare. 6 million people out of work, 5,000 new people each day signing on for health and sickness benefits. That's more than twice what it was last year. This is completely crazy. We're not getting richer as a country. It's making a lot of people frustrated. And when they're frustrated, they look for anything to blame. There is a problem, as you said, with immigration. It was too high under the last Conservative government. We took our eye off the ball, wasn't deliberate. I'm fixing that now. We've got much tougher policies. We're leaving the ECHR. We've got a borders plan that is tougher and more coherent than anything that any other party is doing. We're doing the real work to win back people's trust because, my God, somebody's got to do it. Otherwise, those numbers will go from 84% to 100%. We'll be in real trouble then.
Kemi Badenoch, I want to very quickly ask you, if I could, about the situation with Martine Croxall, of course, the BBC presenter who rolled her eyes when she was compelled to use the phrase pregnant people. She said, well, women, that's a common sense opinion. And yet the BBC have chastised her for that. Earlier this week, you said that heads need to roll at the BBC. What do you make of this latest farce?
Yeah. The heads have not rolled, and I think it's time that they start rolling. It's completely stupid to reprimand Maxine for saying what is common, not just common sense, but the truth. It's biological fact. There is quite clearly a small cabal of activists at the BBC who are holding sway over everybody else. And if the Director General cannot get a grip, look after his staff, and deal with the people causing the problems, then yes, he should go. If he can't solve it, then they should get somebody who can.
Kemi Badenoch, leader of the Conservative Party.
And let's remember, this is not the first time. I was just going to say one thing. This is not the first issue that the BBC has had. Remember the Panorama documentary with the fake news which they were creating? This is part of a long-running trend. They had the same thing with the Israel-Gaza documentary that they did. That's why I think this is a very serious issue. It's not a small matter. We need to take it seriously.
Kemi Badenoch, thank you very much for your time today. I truly appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on GB News. Now, in response to the news of Brahim Kaddour Sharif's rearrest, the Deputy Prime Minister, that man David Lammy, he said this: "We inherited a prison system in crisis, and I'm appalled at the rate of releases in error this is causing. I'm determined to grip this problem, and that is why I have ordered new tough release checks, commissioned an independent investigation into systemic failures, and begun overhauling archaic paper-based systems still used in some prisons." Now, let's speak more about that study that's found national pride has plummeted and society is more divided than ever in Keir Starmer's Britain, and alarm bells will be ringing for number 10 as half the public says that Britain's culture is changing simply too fast, and nearly 9 in 10 Brits believe there is tension between immigrants and those born in the country. Well, let's now speak with the pollster, Gideon Skinner. He's the head of political research at Ipsos UK, who conducted the study with King's College London. Gideon, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. We've been through the data, and I think a lot of people watching this show will completely and utterly concur. The country does feel divided, but some people might take umbrage with the conclusion of the report. You blame Brexit.
I'm not sure that is our conclusion. I think we show in our data that actually tensions over Brexit have lessened over the last 5 years since we've been carrying out the study. Obviously, Brexit was a divisive event a few years ago, but that's now not seen as the biggest source of tension in the UK. Actually, what we've seen instead is a rise in concern over perceived tensions around immigration, and a kind of general, as you've pointed out, feeling that the pace of change in the country is moving too fast. People feeling a sort of a stronger sense of nostalgia and wishing the country could be how it used to be in the past, and a sense that culture wars are becoming a bigger problem and more divisive in society.
It's also, I think, particularly troubling as we approach Remembrance Sunday that only 46% of Brits actually feel proud of their country. That's down 10% in just 5 years. Something's going terribly wrong here.
Yeah, and it's still the case that more people are proud than are not proud. But yes, there has been a noticeable dip, and that's fallen amongst all age groups as well. We've seen a dip amongst all age groups, so it's clearly something that is felt, across the piece, across society.
Gideon Skinner, when we look at findings like this, and we hear them all the time, this was come as no surprise to anybody listening to this show or watching this show. People do feel disenfranchised. They feel uncoupled with the direction of travel. The pace of change has simply been very, very quick in recent years, particularly since Brexit and certainly in the few years before it. But the British public have been saying this for years. The problem is this, Gideon Skinner. When they raise it, they get called racist. They get called Islamophobic. They get called transphobic. They get called Little Englanders. Oh, just move on. The country's changed. We can't go back to the Dark Ages. And that's the problem. This report is enlightening and concerning. But do you think anyone's going to give a damn or listen?
Well, I hope so. I mean, people have been paying attention to it, and it's clearly struck a nerve. But you're right that the sort of this sense of powerlessness and feeling that kind of you can't influence politics so much, and sort of wanting greater accountability on the part of politicians. That's something that we've seen in our research for many years. And we're seeing these concerns, as I said, rise sort of amongst all groups. But we're also seeing, we do see evidence of polarisation as well. We do see younger people having quite different views to older people. We see Green Party supporters, Labour Party supporters having quite different views to Reform and Conservative supporters. So although, not everybody is at the extremes, we have to remember that, it's not just the people at the ends, the extremes that we have to pay attention to. There's many people in the middle as well. But there are worrying concerns about rising division and sort of maybe a bit of a lack of empathy towards people on the other side.
Yeah, and Gideon Skinner, when I said, does anybody give a damn, please, I wasn't having a go at you. Your report's excellent. What I meant was policymakers. Will policymakers actually listen and give a damn? Your report is superb. It very, very shines a light on what needs to be discussed. Thank you for joining us on today's show. Gideon Skinner, Head of Political Research at Ipsos UK. Thanks for your time. Now let's join my next guest now, and that is John Rentoul, the Chief Political Commentator at The Independent. John, a pleasure to have your company. In a sense, I'm going to put some of this precise same points to you, John. People do feel the country is changing. They think it's changing for the worse. They think it's changing too quickly. They've been saying for this for years. This data backs it up. But my point with this, when it concludes that Brexit is the problem, actually Brexit was the symptom. Brexit was the public saying, listen to us about all of this. Actually do what you're told. Control our borders and listen to the indigenous population. They not only didn't do that, they've been calling the public racist and thick ever since.
Yeah, well, Gideon pointed out that they don't actually blame Brexit for it, and actually the divisions over Brexit have become less severe. I think what this survey shows, and you're right, it's a very good survey. I think what it shows is the sense of disappointment with the last Conservative government, particularly on the issue of immigration, and the sense since the Labour government came in that things are still going backwards, and I think that's partly to do with the small boats. And it's partly to do with the economy. I think the sense that the economy is not moving forwards sort of underpins this big sense of disappointment, and this sort of looking back to the golden age, whenever it was. I mean, it's not clear what people mean by this, but they certainly think that things were better in the past.
I think a lot of people will agree with that, and we have to accept that the common factor in the pace of change has been uncontrolled immigration, and the fact that a lot of towns, a lot of areas have changed very quickly, and nobody was really ever consulted. In fact, when they voted repeatedly for repeated governments to do something about it, they were totally ignored. And so to pin this on culture wars now, or people being bilious about it, how about the political class and the media class take some responsibility to themselves for calling people racist, for calling them small-minded? How about controlling the borders? How about caring about the quality of life for the British people, rather than saying, hey, multiculturalism, it's compulsory, and if you complain, you're a racist?
Well, I'm not sure if it's about that. I think it's about control of the borders. I think you're right there, Martin. I think this government is in serious trouble because it hasn't stopped the boats. I think that the last government was in trouble because it didn't stop the boats either. But it had also done something quite extraordinary, given the reason that a lot of people voted for Brexit was to reduce immigration. To end up quadrupling net immigration was an absolute disaster for the Conservative government, and no wonder they got thrown out. But the feeling that they got thrown out and got replaced by a government that isn't making any progress on that same issue, I think is what lies behind a lot of the sense of alienation in this survey.
So, John, for a long time, for many months, since the Southport attacks, I've been saying on this channel, would it not be sensible for the government to open a dialogue with disenfranchised white working class communities to ask them why they're feeling despondent, why they're feeling so hopeless, rather than the de facto position, God, you're all far right. And that's the problem. Well, we have a huge... We don't listen to the white working classes, the political classes, and dare I say the media class, John, and particularly the BBC, project their own piety upon them. They don't listen. They project. And that, I think, is a huge part of why we're in this mess.
Well, I think that's what a lot of people feel, and that means it is a problem, and it does need to be addressed. And you're quite right. I think Keir Starmer's response to Southport, when he did talk about the far right, I think that was misjudged. But he has tried to listen to people, but he hasn't been able to deliver either on the economy or on the small boats. And I think until he does that, I think he's just shouting into the wind.
I think you're absolutely right. John Rentoul, thank you very much. Apologies if I'm on my haunches today. I've had my Weetabix. John, it's amazing to see you as ever. Thank you for joining us on the show. Let's get back to the studio. Patiently waiting is my sidekick today, Catherine Force, our political correspondent. Catherine, you can tell these kind of things get me going because I'm just sick of reports telling us, the nation's divided, everyone thinks it was better in the old days, and there'll be some, you're all little Englanders, you're all xenophobic. People value British culture, they cherish it, they want to protect it, and yet when we do, we're told that that's that's not the progressive position to take. I put it to you. People are disenfranchised not just because of what's going on around them, because the political class won't do what they're blooming well told.
Well, yes, and of course, the Brexit vote was a symptom of that, because so many people thought the system is not working for us, so let's try something else. And of course, many people would think that Brexit hasn't been what they expected, what they wanted, that haven't made them opportunities. Unfortunate, of course, it coincided with COVID, and we've had war in Europe. So it's very difficult to tell, but people feel let down. And as John Rentoul was saying, one of the main drivers, apart from things not working, was to get net migration down. Who would have believed it was possible that under the Conservatives it then went from about 250,000 before Brexit to nearly 1 million, the Boris wave, as they called it. But I mean, reading through this report, and really, really interesting. I mean, very sad, isn't it, that now less than half of people surveyed felt proud of the country.
As we approach Remembrance weekend.
Less than half.
It's almost heartbreaking.
And there was a veteran on TV this morning saying how upset he felt given the state of the country now. I thought it was very interesting what Kemi Badenoch said to you a little bit earlier. She mentioned that, and she said, the people who remember the wars, who fought for this country, are sadly now leaving us, and there is a sense of complacency. People who've never experienced war or real hardship, that too many of us have become complacent.
But there's more to it than that, and that is, you know, we should be teaching how fantastic and amazing Britain has been historically. We've had some bumps, but we stopped fascism. Real fascism, not hurty words fascism, genuine fascism. And the reason that our old boys and girls now are feeling despondent, because our kids are being taught that Britain's toxic, that our history and our culture is something to be ashamed of. Is it any wonder that they believe that when they grow into adults?
We're very, very good, aren't we, as a country, at beating ourselves up about all the things that aren't brilliant. But in fact, we are still one of the best, most successful, tolerant countries on earth. If we weren't, then we wouldn't have 1,000 people crossing the Channel today from France, a safe, rich country, desperate to get here. One other little nugget that I read, Martin, about friends across the political divide. 2 in 5 people, this survey said, say it would be hard to be friends with a Reform voter. That's double the number. Say it would be hard to be friends with somebody who was Conservative, and far more than would Labour. And in terms of those who find most difficult to be friends with people supporting other parties, the Greens find it particularly difficult.
And they're all about hugging trees and being so kind and beautiful, aren't they? Catherine Forster, great points well made. Thank you very, very much indeed. Now, still to come, I'm speaking to a furious SAS veteran as days ahead of Remembrance Sunday. As you can see on your screens, grotesque images. A war memorial in Stockport has been set on fire. That's next with me, Martin Daubney, on GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays, I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as
and now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
you want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're
the failure is
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Time is 3:27. You're with me, Martin Daubney, on GB News. Now, a police investigation is still underway as after a fire was started near a war memorial in Stockport just days before Remembrance Sunday. Stockport County Council say the incident was dealt with swiftly and Remembrance events will go forward as scheduled. But as you can see, there's been huge damage caused to the tarmac around there on a day, of course, when elderly veterans will be trying to go there to lay flowers and pay their respects. Let's now speak with the SS veteran and great friend of the show, Matthew Hellier. Matt, welcome to the show. There are very, very few stories in my game that genuinely make me feel like I've been belted in the guts. But when this story came on last night, live with Mark White, and I saw a bonfire had been built out of pallets and wheelie bins next to a war memorial, Matthew Hellier, it made me feel genuinely sick to the bottom of my stomach. I haven't served, you have. How did it make you feel?
Shocking. Made me sick to my stomach as well, Martin. What on earth have these people got? Why? What right have they got to burn any war memorial? We had 1.4 million people, young men and women, die in order to give us freedom. In the First World War, when these memorials were set up after the First World War, we lost nearly 1 million men. 1 million men. These were not soldiers. These were bakers. They were postmen. These were individuals that volunteered for our country to fight for freedom against tyranny. And now we have this political divide. I don't know why our Armistice Day and Memorial has been politicised. It's gut-wrenching. It really makes me sick. It makes me want to cry. I see your interview yesterday, and it was so upsetting. I have great uncles on those memorials. I have friends on those memorials. They died in the name of freedom, and they need more respect. It's outrageous. This country is falling apart.
Matthew Hellier, I think that leads me on to the next question. This opinion poll that's out today saying that 84% of the British public feel they've never felt more divided. 50% think British culture is changing too quickly, and 48% just want to go back to the way things used to be. And Matthew Hellier, I don't think that is a small-minded or a Little England thing. I think it's a pray for calm. It's a pray for tradition. It's a pray for peace.
Yeah, I was with John Morris, a 103-year-old World War II veteran, and he questions why he fought for this country now. He sees the state of this country, what is going on. Mr. Lammy there sat in front on PMQs with no poppy on his chest, commemorating the people that gave him the right to speak, gave him the right to take the vote. This country has lost its tradition. It's just falling apart at the seams. We need to go back and show the respect. We need to show that tradition. It starts in schools. We need to re-educate our children. They have not got, they have lost the right to learn about the First and Second World Wars. It's been taken off of their curriculum. It's not their fault. We need to re-educate individuals and just understand why these people went out to fight and what they fought for. And then maybe these instances, these 30+ instances we've had last year of burning and desecrating our memorials will stop.
I didn't even know that. 30 incidents.
That was the last incidents on each memorial. Do you know how many how many were prosecuted? 4 people were prosecuted over this. Now, the government put in stringent laws. There's a 10-year sentence for anyone desecrating, vandalising any war memorial. Now, that needs to be put in place. We need to show the strength of this country and show how much we believe in those poor individuals that lost their lives and have left their blood and their DNA on battlefields around this world fighting for mine and your freedom.
Powerful words, well made, and I know you'll be doing your bit in paying your respects this weekend. And actually, maybe if anything comes out of this madness and this terrible stuff we're seeing, we should all get out and pile out and pay our respects, wear our pops with pride, lay those flowers with pride. Matthew Haddier, thanks for joining us, and as ever, my friend, thank you for your service. Have a fantastic Remembrance weekend. Thank you very, very much, Matthew Haddier. Thank you. Well, lots more still to come between now and 4 o'clock, including I'll be joined in the studio by 2 men who were so sick of the countless channel crossings they went to France to film, to see the police there simply standing back and letting tons of migrants board small boats. They've got their incredible tale and some exclusive footage only here on GB News. First, those your headlines. Here's Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you very much. The top stories. GB News can reveal that more than 1,000 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel in the past 24 hours. It takes the total for the year so far to 38,000. Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy has thanked police and prison staff after the migrant sex offender Brahim Kadur Sharif was mistakenly released from HMP Wandsworth, was rearrested in North London today. Rachel Reeves has reportedly informed the spending watchdog that she intends to raise income tax. That's as splits are emerging at the top of Labour ahead of the budget later this month. Boris Johnson has called on BBC Director General Tim Davie to explain or resign over the bias scandal engulfing the broadcaster. He said the BBC has been caught red-handed and demanded the Director General address the left-wing bias. Those are the latest GB News headlines. For now, more from me in half an hour.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Through the rest of today, we'll see rain moving eastwards, some mist and fog forming overnight, and for many of us, it will turn that much cloudier as we head into the weekend. We've got low pressure nearby, bringing spells of wet weather, but we've still got relatively mild air, so it will turn a little bit fresher behind the rain across southwestern areas through this evening. Now, after a fairly fine day further north and east, it will turn cloudier and wetter overnight. Fairly light rain, but it will bring a lot of cloud around, so quite a misty evening to come for most of us. And as I said, temperatures falling away behind that area of cloud and rain where skies do become clear. So a little bit of a fresher morning tomorrow morning, but it's still relatively mild for the time of year. So we've still got those southwesterly winds. So probably a bit of a misty, murky start, particularly across high ground. Parts of Scotland seeing some drizzle persisting through the morning and plenty of low cloud around as well. Still some spells of sunshine here and there across parts of Northern Ireland, some northeastern areas of England as well, but it's the south and west where I think we'll see the best of the sunshine first thing on the weekend. That's not to say there won't be sunshine elsewhere later on through the day, as Saturday does look like a fairly bright day for many areas. Plenty of sunny spells. It's still relatively mild out there as well. The winds will start to pick up across western areas of Wales, southwest, particularly Northern Ireland later on in the day. And when we do see any prolonged sunshine, temperatures will climb towards the slightly higher teens. But for many of us, we're in the mid-teens. It's a degree or so lower than it has been lately, but still pretty pleasant in the sunshine. Now, notice in the west, particularly across Northern Ireland, we're seeing the next batch of rain through Saturday evening, so pretty wet evening to come, and that wet weather will likely push its way eastwards through the rest of the weekend and into the start of next week. There is some uncertainty in the details of that, but it's for sure that it will stay mild wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the nation, because the truth matters, and so do you.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A68 between Leaderfoot and Drygrange is restricted due to a road incident. Proceed with caution. An incident on the A48 at Nanticours means being prepared for delays. In Kirklees, congestion remains on the M62 westbound, with expected delays of 30 minutes. In Northamptonshire, the A45 eastbound between the A6 and the junction with the A14 is fully closed due to a collision. In Wiltshire, all lanes on the A36 southbound are closed after another serious accident. And on the trains, disruptions affect services between Newcastle and Darlington on both cross-country and Elna. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. Brace yourself for this astonishing exclusive now, because the founders of Raise the Colours were so appalled by the surge of small boats to Britain, they went to France to film it. And what they witnessed absolutely blew them away. Packed dinghies, armies of young men, and as they say, clueless gendarmes.
Cannot let this happen, guys. There's the boat. There's the boat. Get on it.
Go fresh off the ferry from their incredible voyage of discovery. Elliot Stanley and Ryan Bridge join me now in the studio in Westminster. Gentlemen, welcome to Westminster. You've literally, by the way, just come back from France. You've been there, as I understand, for 2 days, sleeping in the sand dunes. Let's start. What motivated you to go, Ryan? And just tell us about the incredible sights you saw.
Well, obviously, it's classed as small boats, and we just thought we'd go and check it out and see what was going on, and you know what's going on with the country, and so we thought we'd go out there. And after the flag movements that we've done at raisethecolours.org.uk, we thought we'd get out there and show. And we've got a big flag and raise the colours, and it's for Armistice Day and stuff. So we've gone out there, and we went out on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and what we seen was absolutely shocking, Martin. And I appreciate you having us on for us to give us some time, as always at GB, to tell us, for us to tell the tale. What we've seen is heartbreaking for me as an English patriot. It's heartbreaking for us as countrymen to see what is going on, the numbers that are going on. From the minute we got off at Calais, we turned right off the boat, and off the tunnel. We went and seen the dunes, and all of a sudden in Calais, there's just teams and teams of men. So we've pulled up. We're going to document this on our platform. And the first team we seen was just like racks of men in queues neatly, and we pulled up, and they must have thought we were part of some agency, and they was completely fine. There was hundreds of these people. And we carried on, and when we got down to the area that we'd found, which was called
Gravelines.
Yep.
That's the launch beach.
That's the launch beach. Yep. When we got to Gravelines, we could see that this wasn't people just running and jumping on a dinghy. This was people that is a highly organised operation, where the army were handing out ration pack bags from Decathlon with their life vests in. Everyone was holding one of them, and they get moved to then the next section and the next section. So we staked it out for the first night. The police were milling about, but there wasn't the amount of police for the people that were there. There was no French people there. It looked like it was a deserted ghost town. The guys we went with, I just want to say, they're sort of in the van outside. We're covered in sand. We're soaked. We've had no sleep since sort of Tuesday, and we're very, very emotional.
I can tell you're really emotional. What is it in particular? Some of the footage you got here, you're seeing huge packs of men charging over the tops of dunes, and you're making off after them because you're asking them, why are you going to England? There's some really moving footage where you're asking them. You're not threatening them. You're not chasing them. You're asking them why England.
Not at all. It's why England, and this is the final sort of destination through Europe. These men were from an African descent, so they must have come through more than 7 safe countries to get to the final destination, France, and then to England, which is where they're going to end up. And these guys that you can see on the pictures now are obviously landed in England before we got back.
They're probably already here now.
It was shocking to see. The night before, when we staked out, we seen tractors that come onto the beach in the middle of the night with big spotlights on, and these tractors were sort of covering and ploughing, so it must be where the boats may be or whatnot. But the boats, the size of these boats, they're not small boats. They're quite big inflatables, motor-powered inflatables, and then we was literally there, and then we seen the money shot was when we just seen teams of men coming up and lining in orderly queues with their ration packs, with all their stuff ready. They was on top of the dune, and then the police walked up, 2 of them with tin of pepper spray, and walked up, and they were just casually looking, and then all of a sudden the migrants just went for it. And they just ran onto the beach. The beach, it's not like a normal beach. Yeah. It's like a massive, vast area. And then we was just going through bogs and mud, and we followed them, and it was just shocking to see when we got through the mist and the fog that what was out there.
Elliot, I mean, some of that footage is simply astonishing. You're in the water up to your waist yourselves, just trying to film this, document it, and there's an endless tide of immigrants risking their lives to get on these boats, and the boats, you can see, they're buckling under the weight. They look barely seaworthy.
When we went over there, we was anticipating that it was going to be a needle in a haystack trying to find them, and our anticipation was completely wrong. We found them within a minute. Everywhere we drove, and we only scratched the surface of a couple of towns in northern France. Everywhere we went, there was just migrants. There's thousands upon thousands upon thousands waiting to get on these boats and come over here. I cannot impress upon you the numbers that we're talking about, and it's. I think this country is in absolute dire straits moving forward. If whichever government it is doesn't get a grip on this.
We're in shock here for the amount of people that are walking around the town with these orange vests on. It's obvious what they're going to do. It's obvious 2 or 3 police officers are not going to be able to cope with this throughout the night. They're all getting prepared. Why is our government giving so much money to France all over the years? 800 million, I believe, for this to happen, and it's just a leisurely pace, and these guys took their chance.
I mean, sorry to interject, the irony is the police are doing nothing, and then when we walked off the beach, 23 police officers detained us for an hour and a half.
Why?
Because they'd seen us on the beach, and to be honest, they never offered any explanation as to why they detained us. They were not particularly friendly towards us. And yeah, an hour and a half in the freezing cold. Some of us have been soaked up to our waist in water.
I was literally in my pants at the side of the beach, just soaking wet.
And just important to add, there's no charges. You didn't do anything wrong.
Oh, no.
They just detained you.
They just detained us.
No, not at all.
Let's get back to the good gentleman. I can tell by you're clearly really emotional.
I am absolutely devastated. I feel for everybody in the country that doesn't really know the real picture of what we've seen, and for all the people on all social platforms. We have gone over there and to have a look what's going on with the boat situation and to what's coming into the country, and it is teams of men. There was no women, there was no children.
Not one woman,
it was all teams of men of young fighting age. They were between 18 and 35. Yeah. And they were fit and able men, and I looked and they were stripping off as they was running along the beach, and they throw all their clothes and then jump in like heart. It's really, really bizarre, and the police just don't do anything.
Having a leisurely stroll while having a cigarette, just admiring.
It's shocking.
OK, gentlemen, thank you for coming to see us from what sounds like an astonishing adventure. Thanks for coming in.
We need help. We need help. The country needs help for what's going on. I mean. For Elon Musk, whoever that's helping, the likes of whoever it is that's funding and helping other people.
No. Let's not go down that route. We can't be encouraging. I appreciate what you gentlemen.
I'm that passionate.
I understand that. I appreciate what you gentlemen have done, but it's important to add. You did this off your own back.
We did do it off our own back. Yeah. And my worry is that the money that our government spent has gone to waste because what I could see out there. Well, how is that going to stop anything that's going on?
Gentlemen, we have to move on. Ryan and Elliot, thank you very, very much for joining us in the studio. And it's important to add that Ryan and Elliot did this off their own backs, and we are not urging anybody to copy them, as obviously this can be very dangerous. This was entirely self-started. Now, thank you very much to gentlemen in the studio. Let's now speak with the founder of the Sanctuary Foundation, and that's Dr. Krish Kandaya, OBE. Krish, you heard the gentlemen here, very, very emotional by what they've seen. And, you may no doubt argue that Britain should be a fair and open and tolerant society, but the account we just heard sounds like the French are simply just standing by and letting this happen.
Look, I think we can all agree it would be better if people weren't getting in those overcrowded boats, crossing the channel, putting their lives in danger. That would be better if that didn't exist anymore. And so I think I'm on common ground with your studio guests there. But most of the people that are coming from some pretty terrible places. They're coming from Afghanistan, Eritrea, Sudan. Those are the top three destinations that people have been coming from. And they're fleeing war and terror, and they're trying to get out of that. And if we had a safe and legal way for them to do that, that would be so much better, because no one would need to get in a boat. They could get a visa. They could get on a plane. As you know, no Ukrainians got onto a small boat to escape the war in Ukraine because we had a safe and legal way that they could come here. So look, I'm with your guests. We don't want anyone on those small boats. That's not a good way to travel, but we need a fast and fair and humane way that we can get people here. This week, there was an anniversary related to the Windermere children. I don't know if you heard that story, Martin. It's an incredible one. After the Second World War, there were so many Jewish children that had been orphaned in the concentration camps that the UK government organised for 30 planes to bring in children into the UK. There were Jewish children. Many of them didn't have their right papers in order, but we as a nation offered incredible hospitality. Yep. So we've done it before. I think it's possible for us to do, in the right circumstances, for the right people, the same kind of programme again.
Thanks for your opinion there, Dr. Krish Kandaya, OB. Thank you very much. We have to move on now. Coming up next, Villa Park was left empty last night as Maccabi Tel Aviv fans weren't even allowed to buy tickets to the match. Was it the day that football finally died? It was taken over by politics. This is GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Sumo is a fantastically simple sport to win. There's only really two win conditions. You either drive your opponent out of the doyo, the ring, or you take them to the ground. And when we say take them to the ground, any part of their body other than the soles of their feet which touches the ground, that counts as a loss. Now, how you do this can vary. It varies between wrestlers and their backgrounds and styles. Some will be more focused on the driving and the pushing. Some, particularly with the judo background, more focused on the throws. There is kind of a core of winning techniques, which we call kimarite, and they're kind of standard winning techniques. But realistically, any technique you use to get your opponent either out or down, you'll win the match.
But the two that we're seeing on the screen look actually quite lightweight sumos, because I've seen some really heavy sumos, but with that weight, they are incredibly flexible. Like the one earlier was doing the box splits. I mean, there he is. Look at that. That is not an easy... I'm training to do the box splits, and I can't do that. And look at him. He's going to roll all the way through as well. Rob, they're very fit, aren't they? But these ones look lighter.
So they are incredibly fit athletes, and I think one of the things people forget when they look at sumo or they look at rikishi is that they are athletes, and to a degree we're looking at two sumo wrestlers standing next to each other, and so they look normal size in comparison to each other. in terms of their body fat percentage, is actually very, very low.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Time's 10 to 4. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, hundreds of protesters gathered outside Villa Park last night ahead of the widely anticipated match between Aston Villa and Maccabi Tel Aviv, where our next guest, Johnny Gould, filmed the following clip.
We should not show mercy, but what does that mean? They are not welcome here today. They are not welcome to Aston.
Well, I'm joined now by the host of Johnny Gould's Jewish State podcast and Aston Villa fan, Johnny Gould. Johnny, those pictures last night before just brought great shame, I believe, on the nation. As a Villa fan, as a Jewish man yourself, how did it make you feel?
Martin, it was a very, very depressing and sad evening. I was determined to go, just as a Brummie, as a Villa fan of 49 years, and I know the place. I walked freely around the stadium completely, north to south, east to west. At the end of the game, I was given special permission to walk through a police cordon. There were a lot of police there. The crowd was rather diminished by people scared from going, but I was absolutely determined as a Villa fan to go to the game, to cheer on Villa. We have a chance of winning this trophy, notwithstanding your boys' hopes of winning it this season, because Unai Emery has won it 4 times. And Maccabi Tel Aviv, you know, they scared us a couple of times in terms of their football. They might have taken the lead, but Villa prevailed. And boy, oh boy, one day, Martin, I would like to be able to talk freely about the football that was played as opposed to the depressing sight of empty seats there.
Yeah, I mean, it really did feel, I think it's the lowest attendance in over 2 years at Villa Park, like a ghost town. And I think that was, as a neutral, I'm a Forest fan, as you know, as a neutral, just really, really upsetting to see the notion, not only of the away fans staying away, but a lot of Villa fans. I mean, who want to walk the kids through that mob?
Yes, I mean, for young children and people of a nervous disposition, to walk past those hundreds of thugs was... no, I mean, I don't care about them, really. I mean, they're all bluster and noise. I'm told they're dangerous, but they had nothing to say. It's causeless hatred, Martin. I mean, it was lie after lie, slur after slur. I'm pleased to say that the 3-minute video that I posted on Twitter has had something like 450,000 views. And it was lie after slur after libel. They told me that Netanyahu should go back to Poland and pack his bags. The fools watching applauded it. Netanyahu was born in Tel Aviv. He grew up in West Jerusalem and was educated in the United States of America. He has a very good command of English because of it. They had a go at Tommy Robinson, calling him far right and a clown. And, you know, all these things together were no good at all. It was a waste
Johnny
of
Gould,
time.
we have to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us and well done for going and not giving in to the mob. Thank you, Johnny Gould. Now, coming up next, we'll reflect on the astonishing breaking news that more than 1,000 small boat migrants have arrived in the past 24 hours. With me, Martin Daubney, on GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Through the rest of today, we'll see rain moving eastwards, some mist and fog forming overnight, and for many of us, it will turn that much cloudier as we head into the weekend. We've got low pressure nearby, bringing spells of wet weather, but we've still got relatively mild air, so it will turn a little bit fresher behind the rain across southwestern areas through this evening. Now, after a fairly fine day further north and east, it will turn cloudier and wetter overnight. Fairly light rain, but it will bring a lot of cloud around, so quite a misty evening to come for most of us. And as I said, temperatures falling away behind that area of cloud and rain where skies do become clear. So a little bit of a fresher morning tomorrow morning, but it's still relatively mild for the time of year. So we've still got those southwesterly winds. So probably a bit of a misty, murky start, particularly across high ground. Parts of Scotland seeing some drizzle persisting through the morning and plenty of low cloud around as well. Still some spells of sunshine here and there across parts of Northern Ireland, some northeastern areas of England as well, but it's the south and west where I think we'll see the best of the sunshine first thing on the weekend. That's not to say there won't be sunshine elsewhere later on through the day, as Saturday does look like a fairly bright day for many areas. Plenty of sunny spells. It's still relatively mild out there as well. The winds will start to pick up across western areas of Wales, southwest, particularly Northern Ireland later on in the day. And when we do see any prolonged sunshine, temperatures will climb towards the slightly higher teens, but for many of us we're in the mid-teens. It's a degree or so lower than it has been lately, but still pretty pleasant in the sunshine. Now notice in the west, particularly across Northern Ireland, we're seeing the next batch of rain through Saturday evening, so pretty wet evening to come, and that wet weather will likely push its way eastwards through the rest of the weekend and into the start of next week. There is some uncertainty in the details of that, but it's for sure that it will stay mild wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for our more than 2 million YouTube subscribers and more than 2 billion views. That is Britain watching, sharing and making its voice heard louder than ever before.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. A significant incident on the A68 between Leaderfoot and Drygrange causes restrictions both ways. In Cheshire East, a collision closes all lanes on the M56 eastbound entry slip at Junction 7. In Staffordshire, expect congestion on the A38 northbound between Burton-upon-Trent South and the A5132, with delays of 15 minutes. In Northamptonshire, a collision closes all lanes on the A45 eastbound before the junction with the A14. And on the trains, London North Western Railway reports a reduced service at Rugeley Trent Valley. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
We could be delivering the perfect Christmas to you this year. There's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 the best year yet. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family. There's £1,000 to spend in your favourite supermarket. And a festively themed GB News goodie bag. And we'll get it all to you in time for the big day. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very good afternoon to you and a happy Friday. It's 4 p.m. and welcome to the Martin Daubney Show on GB News, broadcasting live across the UK, all the very latest news, debate and analysis all the way through until 6 p.m. What a show we've got for you, and here's what's coming up today. Breaking news, more than 1,000 small boats migrants have crossed the Channel since yesterday morning, and that takes the total arrivals this year to more than an astonishing 38,000. And a frightening new poll has revealed that 85% of Brits think the country is more divided than ever, with 50% saying Britain's culture is changing simply way too quickly. Now, the report's authors have tried to blame Brexit, but our open borders, two-tiered treatment of minorities and a totally out-of-touch political and media class, the true causes of our social division. And it's another day and another nightmare poll for Sir Keir Starmer. Today, GB News can exclusively reveal that the entire Labour cabinet could be wiped out at the next election, including the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. Caught in a deadly pincer movement between Reform on the right and the Greens on the left, is Labour hurtling towards oblivion. Later this hour, we're expecting Donald Trump to meet the Hungarian President, Viktor Orban. And of course, we'll bring you that moment live as it happens. And as Greater Manchester Police continue their manhunt for the arsonists who attacked a war memorial in Stockport, I'll ask an SAS veteran what could drive such mindless thuggery. And as we approach Remembrance Sunday, I'll be joined by a Chelsea pensioner for a rousing rendition of a great British patriotic hymn.
I vow to thee, my country, all earthly things above and time.
Want to show us a pleasure to have your company. If you missed the interview we just did with the boys from Raise the Colours, Elliot Stanley and Ryan Bridge, I implore you to check it out online. They've spent 2 days in the sand dunes in France observing what was happening over there, and they simply paint a picture of total anarchy. The French police simply watching on as hundreds of men pour continually towards dinghies awaiting in the Channel French side. And today, in the last 24 hours, now the bad weather has lifted, over 1,000 illegal arrivals on our shores. Our borders remain porous. Our politicians remain impotent to stop the flow. Is there any wonder 84% of Britons feel the country is more divided than ever? Get in touch usual way. gbnews.com/your say is the way to do so. But now it's time for your headlines. And here's Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you very much and good afternoon. The top stories. A foreign sex offender freed in error from Wandsworth Prison has been rearrested. Brahim Kadour Sharif, a 24-year-old Algerian national, was mistakenly released from HMP Wandsworth in South London on the 29th of October. Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy says he's appalled at the rate of releases in error and is determined, he says, to get a grip of the problem. Brahim Kadour Sharif had been convicted in November last year of indecent exposure relating to an incident in March of that year. In a statement, Mr Lammy has said, "I have ordered new tough release checks, commissioned an independent investigation into systemic failures and begun overhauling archaic paper-based systems still used in some prisons." However, Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch told GB News she is not confident the streets are safe.
Yes, it's complete nonsense. They blame everybody else except themselves. They are in charge right now. If someone was released last week by accident, it's their fault. It's not the fault of the people who were there 2 years ago. And right now, what I actually want to see is this man deported. We're spending too much money keeping foreign prisoners in our jails. Our party's policy now is just deport all foreign criminals. No ifs, no buts.
Elsewhere, GB News can reveal that more than 1,000 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel since yesterday morning. It takes the total for the year so far to 38,000. Throughout yesterday, more than 600 migrants had arrived in UK waters and were taken to the Border Force Processing Centre at Dover Harbour. Boats continue to arrive into early hours of this morning, with around 200 migrants picked up by Border Force and the Dover and Dungeness lifeboats. By lunchtime today, more than 200 other migrants had either arrived in Dover or had reached UK waters and been picked up by Border Force vessels. Border Force have since picked up more than 100 others as they arrived in UK waters early this afternoon. GB News can reveal that Police Scotland failed to investigate a grooming abuse gang in Glasgow that targeted vulnerable girls in care. The Scottish Government is now considering conducting a grooming inquiry after First Minister John Swinney previously said he was not convinced that one was required. GB News spoke to victim Taylor, who was abused by Pakistani men in Glasgow while living in care. She told GB News she was repeatedly exploited and went missing many times, yet police never properly investigated.
It's quite sickening because I always believed I was in a place like that I was cared about, and to actually find out that they actually had an incline that stuff like this was going on, and that's the bit that gets me the most, because this could have been stopped and it never. No police officer ever asked to speak to me regarding the sex exploitation claim that they came to the unit with. I wasn't aware that anybody had even visited.
Julia Van Delt, the woman who claimed to be Madeleine McCann, has been found guilty at Leicester Crown Court of harassing Kate and Jerry McCann. The 24-year-old Polish woman turned up at the home of Madeleine McCann's parents and sent sinister letters and messages, repeatedly begging for a DNA test. A 5-week trial heard how Van Delt claimed to have memories induced by hypnosis sessions of being abducted and of living with the McCanns as a child. Rachel Reeves has reportedly informed the spending watchdog that she intends to raise income tax. That's as splits are emerging at the top of Labour over whether to raise taxes as pressure grows ahead of the budget later on this month. Deputy Leader Lucy Powell has warned that breaking Labour's manifesto pledge not to increase income tax, national insurance or VAT could damage trust in politics. And Boris Johnson has called on BBC Director General Tim Davie to address what he calls left-wing bias at the broadcaster or to resign. The former Prime Minister says the BBC has been caught red-handed following the Telegraph's report, accusing the broadcaster of one-sided Gaza coverage, censoring the trans debate and editing Donald Trump's 2021 Capitol speech. The newspaper also revealed a leaked 8,000-word letter from former BBC Standards advisor Michael Prescott, who says he is in deep despair over executives ignoring widespread evidence of bias. Shadow Energy Secretary Claire Coutinho echoed Johnson's calls for Davie to explain.
If it's true on the equality side, for example, that they've got people screening the news only putting forward one side of the gender ideology debate, then of course that is really worrying. So I think we need to establish the facts, and Tim Davies, as the Director General, needs to set out what he's going to do to fix the problem if they can show there is one.
And those are the latest headlines for now. More from me in half an hour.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
And here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.3137 and €1.1354. The price of gold is £3,032.97 per ounce. The FTSE 100 is at 9,647 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Thank you, Tatiana. Now, GB News can exclusively reveal that over 1,000 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel since yesterday morning. Now, this surge is another blow for the government after an absence of small boats over the last 2 weeks because, of course, there was bad weather. Now the weather has calmed down, the boats continue rolling in. Now, in the last hour, I was emotionally joined in the studio by the founders of Raise the Colours, Elliot Stanley and Ryan Bridge. And they were so appalled by the surge of small boats to Britain, they went to France to film it. What they witnessed simply blew them away. Packed dinghies, armies of young men and clueless gendarmes simply looking on.
What we've seen is heartbreaking for me as an English patriot. It's heartbreaking for us as countrymen to see what is going on, the numbers that are going on. From the minute we got off at Calais, we turned right off the boat and off the tunnel. We went and seen the dunes, and all of a sudden in Calais, there's just teams and teams of men.
Well, GB News' Homeland Security Editor Mark White joins me now. Mark, we'll come to the Raise the Colours boys in a moment and their incredible invention, but let's start with the grim tally. Once again, has been breached. An extra 1,000 have come to British shores.
Well, actually, we can confirm it's now risen to 1,100 have arrived since yesterday morning. We can show you some images that were captured on the same beach that our two Patriots were filming on a little earlier by the Press Association. You can see the images there of packed boats leaving with those with their life jackets on, heading off into the channel. And, you know, it wasn't ideal conditions, as you can clearly see. In a way, because it was so misty, it probably helped them hide in the dunes, run off and onto those boats to make it across the channel. And we had 600 that crossed the channel yesterday, then another 200 overnight, and today already, during the course of the day, we've had a further 300 crossing the channel. So combined, that's 1,100 since yesterday morning. Martin, I had the most infuriating telephone call with a Home Office press officer disputing our figures, that, you know, we have a presence in Kent constantly on the payroll who it's their job to count these migrants, to make contacts, to get us the most accurate assessment of the numbers crossing the channel. And this press officer couldn't quite get it into their head that if you talk about 24 hours, it doesn't necessarily mean one day. It can straddle 2 days. And earlier, when we reported 1,000 crossing within 24 hours, it was yesterday morning to this morning. And okay, right, if you want to be semantic about it, it might be 28 hours or so. But the fact is that in that period, since yesterday morning, more than 1,000 have crossed. Now, according to the very latest, according to our producer Chris, down in Dover, counting them off the Border Force vessels, that has now risen to 1,100. And I just think it comes to something that if the Home Office feels that it needs to come up and just play semantics over figures like this, when actually the bigger picture is that in such a short period, after being told by ministers that these policies that this government were enacting were having an impact because we haven't had any crossings for a fortnight. Actually, what we then get is in the space, this short period of time, 1,100 migrants crossing. That's the story, not the semantics over what days you decide to measure your arrivals by.
You know, Mark White, it's pedants versus patriots. Who cares if it's 24 hours or 28? They should care that it's 1,000 or 1,100 coming here and not zero. That's the point. And Mark White, I want to talk to you about what the lads saw over there in France. They were talking about a wasteland. French towns evacuated by the indigenous French population, driven out, surrounded by an endless waves of immigrants. Crime in the area. They were talking about human waste on pavements, garbage everywhere. Endless conveyor belts of freebies in tote bags from the army, given life jackets by NGOs, by the authorities, given food, given clothes, given shoes. They're rolling out the red carpet in France, Mark White. Is there any wonder they're all flocking to the coast? Next destination, Hotel Britannia.
Yes, I mean, those men are seeing effectively what GB News correspondents and producers have been observing now for a number of years in the channel. Of course, most normal members of the public, understandably, are not over there and seeing this firsthand. These two gentlemen have been there and they're shocked because, of course, as much as we try to portray what's actually happening on the other side of the channel, unless you see it with your own eyes, it can appear just a little sanitised in television pictures, but all of what you described is happening. We see regularly migrants with their life jackets on, queuing up at bus stops for the free bus services down to the beaches, with no attempt by the French authorities to stop them. And it beggars belief that, you know, if that was happening down in Dover, you can bet your boots that the British police would stop them. The British Border Force personnel would stop them because they would be called out if they didn't. And we are providing many hundreds of millions of pounds, 800 million at last count over a number of years, to the French to provide this enhanced security, which never seems to be much more than a cohort of police on the beaches. OK, they've got 70 miles of coastline, but we know there are no more than half a dozen sort of beach areas where these boats will regularly launch from. And I think the response really from the French law enforcement towards this crisis is pretty woeful.
And you know, that dinghy on the screen there, that red and black one, that was the one that the Raise the Colours boys were filming. And they told me before the show that at one point, when they were running towards the migrants swarming towards it, some of them ran off, and the dinghy simply went and circled away. It disappeared into the fog, Mark White. It couldn't be seen by the coast, couldn't be seen by the authorities. You can see there, it became hard to view, but it simply circled back, Mark. It simply circled back, and it picked up a fresh wave of willing passengers, and it didn't leave until it was full. And at no single point, Mark White, was anybody from the French authorities anywhere near this.
No, absolutely, because that pushback tactic that this government has told us is about to be enacted by the French, they've been telling us this for months now, is nowhere near being carried out by the French, because the French police unions don't want the French maritime police to start pushing these small boats back in case something happens and they get into trouble. They don't think the police will have their back. So I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. And just before I hand back to you, my producer Chris has just told us that the last boat in has 81 people on it, just arrived at Dover Harbour. That makes a total for today 520. Add that to yesterday with the 610 that crossed. We're at 1,130 just for the Home Office press officer, as they clearly are concerned about where we're getting our stats from. They're coming from our producer Chris, who physically counts these migrants coming off these migrant boats.
Do you know what, Mark White? I think anybody with half a brain listening to this show is going to believe Chris, they're going to believe you, they're going to believe the boys who went over there, and they're not going to believe a single thing the Home Office say. I'm sorry, I think we're at the point now where we just are losing faith in the entire system that's meant to be protecting our borders, and so patently is failing. Mark White, thank you very, very much for joining us on the show. As ever, let's get back to the studio in Westminster for some reaction from Catherine Forster. You know, we're getting to the point now, aren't we, where the general public must be looking at this and just thinking, a plague on all your houses. Because this problem sank the Tories. It's going to sink the Labour Party unless they do a single thing about it. Our borders are hemorrhaging. They're totally porous. As Keir Starmer's in Brazil.
Yeah, I'm still reeling, really, from hearing those two guys just back from the beach at Gravelines, and I was looking on Google Maps. It's only about 20 minutes from Dunkirk. I was looking at the town. Absolutely beautiful, a former holiday destination. And I remember maybe 10 years ago, our car nearly breaking down, driving through northern France, trying to get accommodation for the night. The hotel in the middle of nowhere was full. Parce que les migrants, it was the police officers, and that was then. And hearing about how the French people, you know, it's horrendous for them.
They've moved out.
The scale of it, and also what strikes me is because I spend a lot of time with the Prime Minister going to various announcements, going to Rome, this initiative, that initiative, the announcements that successive governments make about what they are doing to get a grip of this. The one that Mark White just mentioned, you know, oh, the French will go into shallow water to stop these boats. Well, it was announced, but it turns out it was due to become law by the end of the year. The French government has collapsed. It's the last thing the French are going to be thinking about. And also, as he said, the French unions are having none of it because they do not want their people put at risk. It is a picture of absolute chaos. And, you know, we had Labour MPs just a few days ago tweeting out quite triumphantly the Home Office report that, you know, they had 7 days, 0 crossings, 0 crossings, 0 crossings, 0 crossings. That was because of the weather. And now, in 2 days, 1,130. And yes, because Mark White has pointed out, we have Chris in Dover, whose job is literally to count every single person that comes in.
It's an astonishing dereliction of duty. Thank you, Catherine. Well, joined by my next guest now, it's the policing and the crime commentator and the former Labour advisor, Danny Shaw. Danny, welcome to the show. Our borders are totally and utterly compromised. They're out of control. The Prime Minister is in Brazil. The Home Office is complaining about the fact that this happened over 2 hours more than 24 hours. Who cares? These pedants aren't protecting our country. And I put it to you, unless the Labour government gets its act together, toot sweet, this issue is going to sink them exactly as it sunk the Conservatives.
Well, I absolutely share your frustration and Mark White's frustration with the Home Office quibbling over figures and disputing the figures collected by GBNews when for months you've had reporters and producers there watching the boats. I think the Home Office would do better to actually engage with the problem rather than dispute the figures. And I also think those MPs or others who were tweeting because we had a few days when there weren't any crossing are so naive. I mean, we've seen that before, periods of bad weather, you know, boats don't manage to make it. And when the weather's very fine and the seas are calm, then you get lots of boats coming with hundreds or some cases thousands of migrants making the journey. So you have to look at the picture over a longer term, over 3 months or 6 months. I remember, I think, coming onto the programme probably around this time last year, and I said, you know, let's look at what the situation is at the end of 2025 and see whether there's been any progress made. The results don't look promising in that sense. I think a huge amount of work has gone in behind the scenes, and I absolutely support the work, the international collaboration, the Border Security Command, the new laws that are going through Parliament, the one-in, one-out treaty with France, which I think is a start, and if it was ramped up significantly, could make a difference. I absolutely support that, but you are right, and I don't dispute with you at all. The figures are really, really poor. There are too many people coming across, and nothing seems to be making a difference.
Danny, I admire your loyalty to the Labour Party, I really do, but let's put our party loyalties to one side and admit, irrespective of who's in power, we've lost the plot. We've completely lost the plot, and we're throwing good money after bad towards the French. Our eyewitnesses there today, there were more people from Birmingham in the sea trying to intervene. There were more photographers who knew exactly where this thingy was launching from than there were French authorities. You know, our guests were detained for questioning for an hour and a half by the gendarmes, who didn't do a single thing to stop hundreds of these young lads belting across the beach. I put it to you, we're wasting our money relying on the French. The French are no friends of ours, and it's time to defund the French.
Well, I mean, I think there are some serious questions, Martin, to ask of the French about what they're doing with the hundreds of millions of pounds that we're spending. I think that's right. And I do think it's very disappointing, but also a bit predictable that this policy of wading into shallow waters to stop the boats hasn't been implemented yet. And frankly, I doubt whether it will be because of the collapse of the government and the objections of the French unions. I always thought that was unlikely. I think the problem is by the time the migrants have sort of collected in the area of northern France and on the beaches, you've lost the argument, basically. It's too late. to intervene effectively to stop everyone. You might, interdict some, but you're not going to stop everyone.
Right.
You have to have a bigger overarching policy, which I've always said consistently has to be, you come across to England, you go back within 48 hours to France. If you have that policy, that will stop it. I don't see...
Danny Shaw, I totally concur. I think everybody watching this channel will agree, but it hasn't happened in all these years, and look, we can only live in vain hope. Danny Shaw, thanks very much for joining us on the show. Always a pleasure to have your coming out. We've got some breaking news for you now, just coming in. And it's this: the former footballer Joey Barton has been found guilty of 6 counts of sending grossly offensive social media posts directed at the broadcaster Jeremy Vine and also at the TV football pundits Lucy Ward and Eni Aluko. Just to repeat that, Joey Barton found guilty of 6 counts of sending grossly offensive social media posts directed at Jeremy Vine and also the football pundits Lucy Ward and Eni Aluko. We'll have more on that throughout the show. Still ahead, calls are growing for a grooming gang inquiry in Scotland as GB News reveals shocking allegations that Police Scotland simply turned a blind eye to the abuse there. This is GB News, and we're Britain's #1 news channel.
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 4:28. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, GB News can reveal that Police Scotland failed to investigate a grooming abuse gang in Glasgow that targeted vulnerable girls in care. We're joined now, of course, by our man, GB News' national correspondent, Charlie Peters, and also the leader of Scottish Conservatives, Russell Findlay, MSP. Charlie Peters, over to you.
Well, Martin, let's start with a summary of this case, because Taylor, who is speaking out for the first time, is sharing the horrifying ordeals of her abuse after she acquired the subject access request leading to her records of her time in social care. And Taylor is sharing this information because she was inspired to make that request as this debate swirls in Scottish politics about the failure of the Scottish authorities, alleged by some, to look into grooming gangs in Scotland. Because Taylor herself was abused by a grooming gang in Glasgow while she was in care. We've seen evidence that shows that the police visited their care home after her name appeared in an investigation, but they failed to interview her. Separately, we've also seen evidence which indicates that the care home has censored out a reference to Pakistani men. That's what we've heard from Taylor, this survivor. We've also seen key indicators of exploitation, such as her going missing, returning under the influence of drink and drugs, and some instances where the police were called, where Taylor did not return to the unit overnight. All key warnings that some abuse was taking place. But even with the police visiting, they did not refer it to the authorities. And we can now bring in the leader of the Scottish Conservatives, Russell Finlay, MSP, because, Russell, of course, when I was talking about the political dimension to this issue, you've recently been campaigning in Scotland for a specific inquiry into grooming gangs. What has been the opposition that you found to that campaign?
Indeed, well, just a matter of weeks ago, we brought forward an amendment to SNP legislation, which would have begun the process of starting some form of inquiry, potentially. And this was voted down by the SNP and by Green Party MSPs. People like Taylor, victims like Taylor, who have established evidence that their abuse was known about, not just by Police Scotland, but also by the local authority in this case, are quite right to expect justice. That Taylor's one of dozens, if not scores, of victims across Scotland. I don't see why victims in Scotland should be treated as second-class citizens and be told that their testimony shouldn't matter, that the answers they are entitled to should never be given, and that the perpetrators of this abuse should never be properly either identified or ideally brought to justice.
OK, Russell, we've heard from the Scottish Justice Secretary, Angela Constance, who's insisted that the government is giving consideration to if there is a necessity for a grooming gangs inquiry, and has pointed out to a strategic group that the government has set up to look at child abuse and sexual exploitation. But more recently, we've heard criticism of that, particularly after FOIs revealed that Police Scotland and the strategic group did not have specific markers for group-based or networked offending. We heard from the Labour MP Joni Reid this morning, who said that if we can't identify grooming gangs in Scotland, how can the authorities prosecute them? What's your view?
Well, the last thing the victims need, the last things taxpayers need, is yet another SNP talking shop. What they should do is instigate the inquiry. They should immediately begin that process. There's no reason not to. Their lack of curiosity is deeply concerning. Why do they not want to establish the scale of this criminality in Scotland? It is the most heinous type of organised abuse in which the victims are the most vulnerable in society. Yet they're closing the door to it and pretending they're making incremental moves in the right direction. There's no excuses.
But earlier we heard from the Scottish Government, a spokesperson told GB News that they had this strategic group to look into the issue, and they will provide resources to seek out justice and to ensure that all victims are heard. Do you have some specific concerns with the strategic group, and do you not think that they've taken enough steps to deal with this issue?
Well, why did they not vote with us to begin the process? They passed a victims law, a so-called victims law, just weeks ago, and we attempted to amend that so that the process would begin. They've created the post of a new victims commissioner, and what we said is that victims commissioner would be ideally placed. The first thing that should be on their desk is to look at the scale of this abuse and then see where we go from there. Nobody necessarily wants hugely costly public inquiries. The SNP's track record in public inquiries in Scotland absolutely shocking. There's one just now which has cost tens of millions of pounds, and the inquiry judge has just had to stand down over allegations of bias. So they don't have a good track record. But why on earth should there be two sets of victims in the United Kingdom? These criminals sometimes operated cross-border, but they were conducting the same form of abuse against the same category of vulnerable young victims, often in care. And that's something this government should get on with getting to the bottom of, finding out the answers on behalf of Taylor and the scores of other victims there are in Scotland.
OK, Leader of the Scottish Conservatives, Russell Finlay, MSP, thank you very much for your time. And Martin, just back to that point that Russell was making about the nationwide issue, about how Baroness Casey had looked into this problem in England and Wales, but of course there hasn't been an audit of the same issue in Scotland. We've also heard from some survivors today sharing with GB News that they were trafficked to Glasgow from Bradford and from other cities in the United Kingdom, which does cause that to come back into focus, doesn't it, Martin? And one final thing, Martin, I want your reaction to this as well. Baroness Casey, in her audit, she spoke about the problem with how she identified that the word Pakistani had been Tipexed out of a report. Well, what we're revealing today from Taylor's social care records is that she believes the same thing has happened about her set of abusers, that bit of censorship has taken place. It points, I believe, I'm sure you do as well, Martin, to a wider concern of censoriousness and political correctness when dealing with this issue in Scotland as well.
Well, I'll go further. I think it's enabling. I think it gives cover, it enables, it emboldens, and it betrays the survivors. And thank heavens we have people like you, Charlie Peter, shining a light on this to try and make this horror go away. Thanks to you, and thanks to Russell Finlay. Thank you very much indeed. And lots more still to come between now and 5 o'clock, including any moment now. We're expecting Donald Trump to meet the Hungarian President Viktor Orban. Pictures there on your screen of the White House. We're expecting the beast to hove into view with its latest delivery for Donald Trump. We'll bring you all of that live. This is GB News.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Through the rest of today, we'll see rain moving eastwards, some mist and fog forming overnight, and for many of us, it will turn that much cloudier as we head into the weekend. We've got low pressure nearby, bringing spells of wet weather, but we've still got relatively mild air, so it will turn a little bit fresher behind the rain across southwestern areas through this evening. Now, after a fairly fine day further north and east, it will turn cloudier and wetter overnight. Fairly light rain, but it will bring a lot of cloud around, so quite a misty evening to come for most of us. And as I said, temperatures falling away behind that area of cloud and rain where skies do become clear. So a little bit of a fresher morning tomorrow morning, but it's still relatively mild for the time of year. So we've still got those southwesterly winds. So probably a bit of a misty, murky start, particularly across high ground. Parts of Scotland seeing some drizzle persisting through the morning and plenty of low cloud around as well. Still some spells of sunshine here and there across parts of Northern Ireland, some northeastern areas of England as well, but it's the south and west where I think we'll see the best of the sunshine first thing on the weekend. That's not to say there won't be sunshine elsewhere later on through the day, as Saturday does look like a fairly bright day for many areas. Plenty of sunny spells. It's still relatively mild out there as well. The winds will start to pick up across western areas of Wales, southwest, particularly Northern Ireland later on in the day. And when we do see any prolonged sunshine, temperatures will climb towards the slightly higher teens, but for many of us we're in the mid-teens. It's a degree or so lower than it has been lately, but still pretty pleasant in the sunshine. Now notice in the west, particularly across Northern Ireland, we're seeing the next batch of rain through Saturday evening, so pretty wet evening to come, and that wet weather will likely push its way eastwards through the rest of the weekend and into the start of next week. There is some uncertainty in the details of that, but it's for sure that it will stay mild wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Britain, for sharing over 5 million comments on your say, because when you talk, we listen.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Exercise caution on the A92 northbound at Lochgelly due to a broken down vehicle. The M56 eastbound entry slip at Junction 7 in Cheshire East is closed due to a collision, expected to resolve by 5. Congestion exists on Staffordshire's A38 northbound between A512 and A5132, clearing by 6:30. Police activity has closed a lane on the M20 westbound exit slip at junction 10A, with resolution around 5:40. And on the trains, there's disruption between Birmingham New Street and Birmingham International, affecting Avanti West Coast and cross-country services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. Your time is 4:39 on this Friday afternoon. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, a Yorkshireman, a man in North Yorkshire, he's facing a £4,300 bill after his local council removed 120 flags from his home. But the problem is, they're his flags. Sean Remmer says the flags were simply showing his patriotism and has now been warned that he could be fined £36 for each and every one of those flags that he put up himself. Well, North Yorkshire Council argues the erection of the flags was unsafe and that they have explained that they have been very clear on the law. Well, I'm now joined by Sean, the Patriot. Sean, what an astonishing state of affairs. You put flags up that belong to you, and now the council wants you to cough up to get your own property back.
That's correct. They've told me if I put any more flags up whatsoever, I have to literally pay that bill. So they're trying to stop me, basically. That's what they want to do.
So I'm assuming that won't work. I'm assuming you're going to be up your ladder and doubling down on your efforts.
I'm pretty sure I won't be posting anything on Facebook saying that I've been putting flags up. And I'll probably, be a little Scarlet Pimpernel.
Don't you think it's? I've read here that you're astonished not just by the brass neck of the council, but mainly. Yeah. Haven't councils got more to worry about than flags and charging people like you? I mean, they've got a job to do.
Absolutely. This is why I was trying to push this story, It's basically, I'm absolutely shocked that they've decided that the flags were the most important thing to spend £4,500 on. And in Thirsk, Great Relief, I asked people, I've been around the community and I've asked, what do you need doing? What needs doing in Thirsk? And there's like roadworks outside our Tesco's that's been dug up for 6 months. And the amount of people that have damaged cars because of the huge grates that are sticking up. We've got lampposts outside elderly people's houses not working, and it's pitch black. And they decide to spend £4,500 removing flags. It's disgraceful.
Yeah, if they've spent as much time putting light bulbs in lampposts as they seem to spend up a cherry picker snipping down flags, we might have half a chance. And isn't it funny, Sean, how they always seem to find the manpower, they always seem to find the money to sort out things that might offend a few liberal people who've complained about a tweet somewhere, rather than actually sorting out the stuff that people care about. Like you say, potholes, lights, safety, the basics that councils are meant to do.
Absolutely. There's a resident down the road. He had his van broken into where one of the, with the lights, it's pitch black. I mean, he did say to me that he left it unlocked, which was his fault, but it gives opportunity to people who can go, because they're not seeing. It's absolutely pitch black. And they've tested his doors. Unfortunately, it was open. And they've stole his tools. And the thing is, I could have easily got an engineer to make a handheld device with a cutter on the end for about £200-300, and a single man going round cutting. And I did ask Mr. Battersby if there were any other options on the table regarding taking them down, because I found it just shocking that they decided to spend that amount of money.
Yeah, Sean, don't give them any ideas about how to get the flags down easier. They'll be straight round. That's one knock on your door there. Mr. Remmer, we haven't come to arrest you. We've come to take your long-armed pincer. Anything can happen in this country. But on a serious point, we hear all the time this. I think it's this illusion. Oh, they're a safety risk. A flag might spontaneously flap down, might blow down from a lamppost, somehow drape itself across a windshield or fall across a cyclist's face. Hasn't happened anywhere, mate.
No, there's not been one incident of it happening anywhere, not that I've heard of anywhere. So, it's just excuse after excuse. The site safety concerns and everything, I don't think there's been one issue of anybody having any injuries or any problems at all. And then again, it's we're taking our own risk. It's nothing to do with that. It's our own So, like, you know, we're risking to do it because, you know, I mean, I'm scared of heights. Literally, I am petrified of heights. So, yeah, it was a kind of scary doing that. So, but, you know, it's our own responsibility, isn't it?
Well, sure, maybe the bloke whose job is to put light bulbs in is scared of heights. Now, maybe that's his excuse as well. Listen, on a serious point, Sean, as I've got you here, can I ask for your opinion? We're covering a story today. Britain is more divided than ever before, a survey has found. 84% of Brits say they feel the country is more divided and that our country is changing too quickly. Sean, specifically around flags, don't you think this has become an issue? People like yourself, a lot of people that watch this channel feel proud of our flag. We feel that our flags are in danger and putting them up is an act of coming together. But that is a mindset that seems to be singularly not followed by the vast majority of people who work in councils.
It is. It's always you know, take York, for example. I think it was one MP, he wanted them down. And York Council has spent £250,000 removing the flags. And it's a small minority of people who are against it, and it seems to be that that's who they listen to. They don't like to listen to the majority of people who absolutely love having these flags up. And it brings it brought my town together. You know, they're obviously the ones that don't like it. But the response I got is fantastic. People coming up to me in the street, shaking my hands. On the Saturday, on my stall, I can't set up properly because I'm just getting bombarded by people. I don't mind it. It's absolutely fine. But I think it's, you know, it really did bring people together. But you've got that small minority who they listen to.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of that small minority seem to work in councils, in the government, in the media, and they're the ones with the biggest gobs. Sean Remmer, you wouldn't be silenced. Thank you very much for doing what you've done.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have your company on GB News. Now, in response to this story, North Yorkshire Council's Corporate Director of Environment, they've got a Corporate Director of Environment, Carl Battersby, said this: "We've been very clear on the law regarding this matter and taken pains to explain this in writing more than once to those involved. The use of highways assets in some of the ways we have seen is unsafe." Well, still to come, any minute now, we're expecting Donald Trump to meet with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. There we can see those fabled doors. The beast is about to hove into view for its latest delivery. Hungarian PM Viktor Orban will bring that live as it happens. But first, here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
An unsettled weekend to come for central parts of the Med, although Spain and Portugal will get away with plenty of sunshine. It's going to be breezy through the Canary Islands as well as Madeira, a few showers here. Less breezy for Portugal and much of Spain, but we continue to see a strong wind through eastern parts of Spain, wrapped around a low that's going to bring some heavy rain to the Balearics, and then as that moves east, it's going to bring further wet weather to Italy as well as Greece during Sunday and into the start of next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
It's about this project. What are you doing with it, and what are you hoping to achieve?
Hi, Stephen. Hi, Anne. Hope you're well.
Hi. Yes.
I'm partnering with Genesis Care, which is a private healthcare company, and basically following their research, which shared that the number one fear of people who get diagnosed with glioblastoma is that they lose their memories. Now, that's obviously affects me because Tom was my brother, and his 2 points in his life was raising awareness to treatments and the power of positivity. Tom's family were called the Positive Parkers, and we were an extension the positive markers. So Genesis Care have created this campaign called the Memory Bank, which is an art installation that basically you go to. It was in the Westgate Shopping Centre in Cambridge, and now it's in the Genesis Care Centre.
Just here in the UK, it's about 13,000 people are diagnosed with this sort of primary brain tumour, glioblastoma, as you were saying. Did Tom ever say that that was his greatest fear, was losing his memory?
He didn't really. Tom lived in the moment. He never made us feel like he was diagnosed. He was always positive. Even in his worst days, he'd come in with a smile on his face. And what comes to mind is he'd go into an interview like this and say wonderful things about life, like such spiritual, deep messages. And I'd turn to him and I'd say, Tom, that was just phenomenal. And he'll say, like, I've no idea what I just said.
GB News, the People's Channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
It's 10 to 5 with me, Martin Daubney, on GB News. Now, Sir Keir Starmer has been accused of posing a threat to the full English breakfast. The prices for eggs, bacon and sausages have gone through the roof under Labour's watch. Well, let's now speak with the food influencer Jerry Del Guacho. Jerry, welcome to the show. These city sausages, they promised to bring home the bacon. Instead, they're taking it off our plates.
Indeed they are, but I'm not sure blaming Keir Starmer's necessarily the most. I don't think it's really down to him. I think there's a number of reasons why ingredients, particularly animal ingredients, have gone up through the roof. I own a restaurant as well, so acutely aware of the rising costs. But I think blaming all on Keir Starmer might be a little bit disingenuous.
Well, he's in control. He's the Prime Minister.
Yeah, he's in control.
Prices are going through the roof. Inflation's off the scale. The farmers are having a hard time. All we want is a nice breakfast.
Yeah, I know. I'm in New York at the moment, as you can probably see from the background. I'm not in London, and we're around reviewing food, and the price here is also through the roof. So I think it's definitely a global issue. But yeah, ingredients have definitely gone up, and going a full English breakfast, a decent full English breakfast in London is going to set you back about £25 these days, between £20 and £25, which is insane. And and as somebody who reviews food and pays to review the food as well. We're acutely aware of that, and my bank balance tells me that every week.
25 quid for a full English. Where do you go? The Ritz?
The Ritz is about 50 quid for a full English. If you go to, there's a place, I've forgotten the name's just completely escaped me, but it's in Southwark, and it's the breakfast there. It's incredible, but £25 is pretty much nowadays for a decent full English.
Do you think this is part of a broader movement where meat is becoming less fashionable, farmers are being encouraged to use it, and the price has gone through the roof? They're trying to get us off it.
I mean, in honesty, I think it's a combination of things. If you look at, obviously Brexit has to have something to do with it. We've now got import duties that we didn't have, and that's going to increase prices. Labour shortages are going to increase the prices. And obviously,
is Brexit to blame for the price of breakfast there in New York?
Well, I know that your news channel doesn't like to, no, maybe not in New York, but certainly in the UK. But in New York, they've got their problems over here as well, which is all driving the cost up. Honestly, I went for an oat pancake about 15 minutes ago, right? For an orange juice that tasted like water, oat pancakes smothered in butter, $25, and it was disgusting. So they're obviously sort of suffering for it over here, and honestly, it was vile. At least the full English breakfast, tastes decent. So maybe Brexit doesn't have to do anything. I like to get Brexit in every conversation you see. I think, but certainly in the UK, it's playing a big part. And I think we have to own up to that. Is it Keir Starmer's fault though? I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, he certainly hasn't helped things, and he hasn't brought inflation down. I'll give you that.
All right, Jerry, we'll have to let you go. Thanks for joining us. It wasn't
Thank you very much
Keir
for having me.
Starmer's fault, but it was the fault of Brexit. There we go. A full English Brexit. He's more obsessed with Brexit than I am, this fella. Don't go anywhere. Still to come any moment now. We're expecting Donald Trump to meet Hungarian PM Viktor Orban at the White House as he hoves into view in the Beast.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Through the rest of today, we'll see rain moving eastwards, some mist and fog forming overnight, and for many of us, it will turn that much cloudier as we head into the weekend. We've got low pressure nearby, bringing spells of wet weather, but we've still got relatively mild air, so it will turn a little bit fresher behind the rain across southwestern areas through this evening. Now, after a fairly fine day further north and east, it will turn cloudier and wetter overnight. Fairly light rain, but it will bring a lot of cloud around, so quite a misty evening to come for most of us. And as I said, temperatures falling away behind that area of cloud and rain where skies do become clear. So a little bit of a fresher morning tomorrow morning, but it's still relatively mild for the time of year. So we've still got those southwesterly winds. So probably a bit of a misty, murky start, particularly across high ground. Parts of Scotland seeing some drizzle persisting through the morning and plenty of low cloud around as well. Still some spells of sunshine here and there across parts of Northern Ireland, some northeastern areas of England as well, but it's the south and west where I think we'll see the best of the sunshine first thing on the weekend. That's not to say there won't be sunshine elsewhere later on through the day, as Saturday does look like a fairly bright day for many areas. Plenty of sunny spells. It's still relatively mild out there as well. The winds will start to pick up across western areas of Wales, southwest, particularly Northern Ireland later on in the day. And when we do see any prolonged sunshine, temperatures will climb towards the slightly higher teens, but for many of us we're in the mid-teens. It's a degree or so lower than it has been lately, but still pretty pleasant in the sunshine. Now notice in the west, particularly across Northern Ireland, we're seeing the next batch of rain through Saturday evening, so pretty wet evening to come, and that wet weather will likely push its way eastwards through the rest of the weekend and into the start of next week. There is some uncertainty in the details of that, but it's for sure that it will stay mild wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you so much for helping us to reach 8 million followers and subscribers across our social media channels. That's 8 million fearless Brits standing up for what really matters.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A92 is restricted northbound at Loch Gelly due to a broken down vehicle. An accident affects both directions on the A483 between Welshpool and Lannerminesh with diversions. In Cheshire East, a collision on the M56 eastbound entry slip at Junction 7 has closed all lanes. Staffordshire congestion on the A38 northbound between Burton-upon-Trent South and the junction with the A5132 is causing 20-minute delays. There are 30-minute delays on the A47 eastbound in Norfolk. And on the trains, there is disruption between Birmingham New Street and Birmingham International. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
We're giving you the chance to win your entire Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even a tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very, very good afternoon to you and a happy Friday. It's 5 p.m. and welcome to the Martin Daubney Show on GB News, broadcasting live across the UK. All the very latest news, debate and analysis all the way through until 6 p.m. And here's what's happening on today's action-packed show. Now, any moment now, live pictures on your screen. As you can see from the White House, we're expecting Donald Trump this time to meet the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Anything can happen in the next hour during this meeting. Don't go anywhere. We'll be there for you live. And breaking news from this afternoon, more than 1,100 small boat migrants have crossed the channel illegally since yesterday morning. Now that makes the total arrivals this year now to more than an astonishing 38,000. And it's another day and another nightmare poll for Sir Keir Starmer. Today, GB News can exclusively reveal, as you can see on your screen now, the entire Labour cabinet could be wiped out if this new poll carries through, including Sir Keir Starmer himself, caught in a deadly pincer movement between Reform on the right and the Greens on the left. Is Labour hurtling towards oblivion? And a frightening new poll has revealed that 85% of Brits think that the country is now divided, with 50% saying Britain's culture is simply changing too quickly. Now, the report's authors, of course, blame Brexit, but are open borders, two-tiered treatment of minorities and a totally out-of-touch political and media class actually the true causes of our social division? And as Greater Manchester Police continue their manhunt for the arsonists who attacked a war memorial in Stockport, I'll ask a veteran, what could drive such mindless thuggery? And as we approach Remembrance Sunday, I'll be joined by a Chelsea pensioner for a magnificent, rousing rendition of a great British patriotic hymn.
I vow to thee, my country, all earthly things above and time.
Now, if that doesn't get you standing to attention, you must be dead. What a magnificent rendition that will be from a Chelsea pensioner later on in this hour. We're expecting Viktor Orban, the PM of Hungary, to go through the doors at the White House. Huge clash could happen. He wants cheap oil from Vladimir Putin to continue flowing into his country. Donald Trump might have other things to say. Could all kick off. Don't go anywhere. Get in touch. gbnews.com/you'll say is the way to do so. But now to your headlines, and here's Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you very much. The top stories. GB News can reveal that more than 1,100 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel since yesterday morning. It takes the total for the year so far to 38,000. Throughout yesterday, 610 migrants had arrived in UK waters and were taken to the Border Force Processing Centre at Dover Harbour. According to GB News' provisional figures, 520 have arrived today. It takes the figure since yesterday morning to 1,130. A foreign sex offender freed in error from Wandsworth prison has been rearrested. Brahim Kadour Sharif, a 24-year-old Algerian national, was mistakenly released from HMP Wandsworth in South London on the 29th of October. Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy says he's appalled at the rate of releases in error and is determined to get a grip of the problem. Brahim Kadour Sharif had been convicted in November last year of indecent exposure relating to an incident in March of that year. In a statement, Mr Lammy said, "I have ordered new tough release checks, commissioned an independent investigation into systemic failures and begun overhauling archaic paper-based systems still used in some prisons. However, Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch told GB News she is not confident the streets are safe.
Yes, it's complete nonsense. They blame everybody else except themselves. They are in charge right now. If someone was released last week by accident, it's their fault. It's not the fault of the people who were there 2 years ago. And right now, what I actually want to see is this man deported. We're spending too much money keeping foreign prisoners in our jails. Our party's policy now is just deport all foreign criminals. No ifs, no buts.
GB News can reveal that Police Scotland failed to investigate a grooming abuse gang in Glasgow that targeted vulnerable girls in care. The Scottish Government is now considering conducting a grooming inquiry after First Minister John Swinney previously said he was not convinced that one was required. GB News spoke to victim Taylor, who was abused by Pakistani men in Glasgow while living in care. She told GB News she was repeatedly exploited and went missing many times, yet police never properly investigated.
Quite sickening because I always believed I was in a place like that I was cared about, and to actually find out that they actually had an incline that stuff like this was going on, and that's the bit that gets me the most, because this could have been stopped and it never. No police officer ever asked to speak to me regarding the sex exploitation claim that they came to the unit with. I wasn't aware that anybody had even visited.
Former footballer Joey Barton has been found guilty of 6 counts of sending grossly offensive social media posts directed at broadcaster Jeremy Vine and television pundits Lucy Ward and Eni Aluko. Jurors at Liverpool Crown Court accepted the prosecution's argument that Barton had crossed the line between free speech and a crime on 6 counts. But they cleared the ex-Manchester City, QPR and Newcastle midfielder of 6 other counts of sending a grossly offensive electronic communication with intent to cause distress or anxiety. Barton was reminded his bail conditions prohibit him from mentioning the 3 victims in any way before he is sentenced. Julia Vandout, the woman who claimed to be Madeleine McCann, has been found guilty at Leicester Crown Court of harassing Kate and Jerry McCann. The 24-year-old Polish woman turned up at the home of Madeleine McCann's parents and sent sinister letters and messages repeatedly begging for a DNA test. A 5-week trial heard how Vandout claimed to have memories induced by hypnosis sessions of being abducted and of living with the McCanns as a child. Rachel Reeves has reportedly informed the spending watchdog that she intends to raise income tax. That's as splits are emerging at the top of Labour over whether to raise taxes as pressure grows ahead of the budget later this month. Deputy Leader Lucy Powell has warned that breaking Labour's manifesto pledge not to increase income tax, national insurance or VAT could damage trust in politics. And Boris Johnson has called on BBC Director General Tim Davie to address the left-wing bias, he says, at the broadcaster or to resign. The former Prime Minister says the BBC has been caught red-handed following the Telegraph's report, accusing the broadcaster of one-sided Gaza coverage, censoring the trans debate and editing Donald Trump's 2021 Capitol speech. The newspaper also revealed a leaked 8,000-word letter from former BBC Standards advisor Michael Prescott, who says he is in despair over executives ignoring widespread evidence of bias. Shadow Energy Secretary Claire Coutinho echoed Johnson's calls for Davie to explain.
If it's true on the equality side, for example, that they've got people screening the news, only putting forward one side of the gender ideology debate, then of course that is really worrying. So I think we need to establish the facts, and Tim Davies, as the Director General, needs to set out what he's going to do to fix the problem if they can show there is one.
Those are the headlines for now. More from me in half an hour.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.3137 and 1.1354 euros. The price of gold is £3,032.97 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,647 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Thank you, Tatiana. Let's return now to the breaking news story as GB News can exclusively reveal that over 1,100 small boats migrants have crossed the English Channel since yesterday morning alone. The Starmada has returned after 2 weeks of calm weather. The boats are simply rolling in again. Let's go now to GB News' home and security editor, Mark White. Mark, here we go again. 2 weeks of calm weather. They're going, ooh, the policy must be working. No, the weather was stopping the boats leaving, and now the boats are simply coming back in.
Well, the interesting thing was that we were getting hit by quite a number of people that were pro the government's policy against the people smugglers, saying, why on earth is GB News not reporting on the amazing achievement of a fortnight where no boats have arrived across the channel? Well, the reason we're not reporting on it was simply because of the appalling conditions that meant these flimsy boats could not be launched by the criminal gangs on the other side of the channel. And you can see the result today, the second that the weather conditions allow in the channel, and they have just for a small period, because we are at a time of year when the conditions in the channel are pretty bad and unpredictable. This small window is allowing the surge that we're seeing. That's all the evidence you need, that whatever they say about the government policies, the people smugglers aren't listening. They're still pushing their boats out in ever greater numbers. Martin, today, with the 1,100 arrivals that have arrived since yesterday morning, 600 yesterday, 520 odd today so far, taking us to 1,100 plus. Added to the total for the year so far, that takes us now over 38,000 arrivals for this year so far, and that eclipses the 36,816 who arrived in the whole of last year.
And, you know, those pictures on the screen there of that dinghy groaning under the weight of all those men, our contacts from Raise the Colours, Elliot Stanley and Ryan Bridge, they were there on those beaches. They came into the studio earlier on. I implore you to watch that interview back on our YouTube channel if you can. Incredibly moving. They were speaking of just hordes of men charging across the beach, piling onto those dinghies. Not a single gendarme in sight. The boats keep rolling in, and the Home Office seem to get annoyed with our numbers and not the fact that they're the ones who aren't controlling our borders. Mark White, superb as ever. It's been a fantastic week. Thanks for your work, Mark White. Now, moving on, GB News can exclusively reveal that the entire Labour cabinet could be wiped out, including Sir Keir Starmer, in the next general election. And that's according to a new poll by Find Out Now. And that poll shows that support for Sir Keir Starmer's party has slumped to 15%, putting the party on track for its worst result in over a century. So the big question is the Labour Party heading towards oblivion? Let's now speak to Find Out Now's Head of Research, Tyrone Sermon. Welcome to the show. An astonishing poll, and one that seems to be backing up a trend, and that is of Reform maintaining their leading position and a resurgent opposition in the form of the Green Party. The Labour Party being squeezed to the right, squeezed to the left, and the mood music is looking pretty grim for Sir Keir Starmer.
Yeah, I mean, we run these polls every week, so I think we've become almost desensitized to them. But these results are frankly shocking. This would be the worst result for Labour, if not ever, then certainly in a very long time. And the fact that in the last few weeks we've now seen the Greens actually overtake Labour is particularly, damning for them.
And we can see the seats projections there. I put this through the electoral calculus machine, which factors in tactical voting. So it gives a 138 seat margin, but we can see just the traditional parties simply falling away there, Ty. And isn't that the problem we have? Because when I put these numbers through the seats right down to cabinet level, every single member of the Labour cabinet, including Sir Keir Starmer, would lose their seats. Now, this is just one poll. We've got a long way to go. and there can be difficulties of being accurate at seat level, Tyrone, as you know. But as you can see on your screen there, all of the cabinets losing their seats, most of them to Reform, some of them to the Greens, and a couple to Jeremy Corbyn's Your Party. This is a bad place to be because they're feeling the pinch from every side.
Yeah, I think people will be tempted to say, you know, this is just one poll, we can't conclude much for it. But I think we're reaching the point in the opinion polls recently that no matter what poll you use, no matter what methodology you apply, no matter whether you apply tactical voting or other considerations, we're looking for a Reform majority in Parliament no matter what. And, you know, there may be some projections which have Labour losing only half their cabinet or Labour sitting on maybe 100 seats instead of 30. But either way, yeah, I think the direction of travel is very clear. And it's kind of unclear what Labour should be doing next, whether they should appeal back to these voters they're losing to the Greens, whether they need to try and hold on to the centrist voters they may be losing to the Conservatives and Reform. Yeah, very difficult for them.
Could I ask you about this notion of tactical voting? Because Morgan McSweeney and his office, the Labour office this week, seeming to be clinging to the hope, the driftwood, that, you know, they might hate the Labour Party, they might not like Sir Keir Starmer, but they must hate Nigel Farage more. They must hate Reform more, and that will save us. When push comes to shove, they won't go for Nigel Farage. Can entire elections rely or be pegged upon people voting that way, or actually, do parties just need to offer good policies themselves?
I think it's maybe a valid strategy, but perhaps quite a risky one. I mean, we see in some polling that in most polls, Keir Starmer outpolls Nigel Farage, but it's pretty close. It's quite close to 50-50. And actually, what's worse for Labour right now is that if you're saying to left-leaning voters, oh, we need to unite around one force to stop Reform, right now that would actually be the Green Party. So, you know, they can maybe think about this, play their simulations, but I think it would be a very risky strategy to go down, to rely purely on people wanting to stop Reform to vote Labour.
OK, thank you very much for joining us. That's the Find Out Now's Head of Research, Tyrone Sermon. Thank you very much for joining us. Catherine Forster, let's get some reaction to you. I went through the numbers on this. I'm a data geek. Regular viewers and listeners will know that. I spent 2 hours going through this data this morning from about 5:30 because, hey, I need to get a life. But on a serious point, when you drill into this, it's disastrous for the Labour Party because the conundrum is, if you look at the cabinet list and how they're going to lose their seats, you can see Keir Starmer, David Lammy, Darren Jones, Steve Reid, Peter Kyle, they're getting nibbled away. They're done for by the Green Party. Your party, Shabana Mahmood, Wes Streeting, Hilary Benn, Douglas Alexander, poof, they've been knocked out by Corbyn's outfit. Reform are taking the vast majority. Rachel Reeves, Yvette Cooper, Pat McFadden, Bridget Phillipson, Ed Miliband, Liz Kendall, John Healey, Heidi Alexander, Emma Reynolds, Lisa Nandy, the entire cabinet taken away by other parties. This has never happened before, to my knowledge. It could be a car crash for Labour.
Well, it is just one poll, of course, nearly 4 years to the next election. But look, Labour are now in a nightmare situation. They had the huge majority, the Loveless landslide, their popularity is plummeting. The Prime Minister is the most unpopular for decades. That's before this budget where we firmly expect Rachel Reeves to raise income tax. And the problem they now have is, much like the Tories a year and a half ago, that had Labour on one side and Reform on the other, Labour were worrying about Reform, trying to counter that threat. Morgan McSweeney, the PM's chief of staff, very well aware of that. But now, with Zach Polansky coming in as leader of the Greens vote share is going up and up and up and up. The Labour Party are introducing votes for 16 and 17-year-old. A cynic would say they were doing that largely because younger people tend to vote on the left. I think there's a good chance that those new voters, a lot of them, are going to be voting for Zach Polansky. And also, of course, there's Jeremy Corbyn, Zara Sultana. Will they, won't they get the Your Party act together? But either way, Labour have got other parties on both sides who are not the establishment and disaffected voters increasingly turning one way or another. And it's very, very difficult to see how Labour can get themselves out of this difficulty because they are in charge. There's not much money. People are really fed up and they have to deliver before the next election.
And when you dive into the data, as I did again, obviously, Labour Party, even with tactical voting factored in, are down to just 30 seats, which will be their worst performance in history. And it's only 21 if you put tactical voting in. 17 of those seats are in London, 5 are in Merseyside, and then literally a smattering. No seats for the Labour Party anywhere in Wales. No seats for the Labour Party anywhere in Scotland. An English metropolitan city centre party being just pushed back in city centres, annihilated from the provinces, and just reinforcing that notion. Many people believe the Labour Party is now a metropolitan, inner-city movement that's just forgotten about the working classes.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost unimaginable. 30 seats, this is what you're saying, mostly in London, a few on Merseyside, one in York, one on Reading, a smattering. But none in Scotland, that for so long was a Labour stronghold. None in Wales. Wales has been a Labour country.
Not even Cardiff, nothing,
and
gone.
The sort of near annihilation that we've seen in the last election for the Conservatives. And, you know, looking at the Conservatives too, when they think it can't get any worse, maybe, yes, it can, because according to this, Reform would have the most seats, then the Lib Dems, and then the Greens, and the Conservatives and Labour way behind even the SNP.
You can see that map there on your screens. And just to repeat there, not a single Labour seat in Scotland, not a single Labour seat you can see there in Wales. Turquoise pushing them all out. And bottom right corner there, that would be the new London. You can see there, northwest London, very heavy ethnic minority populations, higher propensity to have Muslim populations being taken over by a wave of Green MPs and Corbyn's Your Party. Labour just being shoved out, Reform nibbling away at outer London, the donut, Conservatives hanging on to a few pockets. But this is the completely and utterly revolutionised political landscape. Catherine Fawcett, it's only one poll, but there seems to be a move for change in the air.
There is, because people were fed up with the Tories. They turned to Labour. Now people are thinking, you promised change, you promised things would be different. Lots of people think that things are getting actually even worse. And they are looking for alternatives. Of course, it hasn't just happened here. It happened in America. It's happening across Europe. And I remember interviewing Nigel Farage years and years ago when I worked at the Sunday Times. At that time, he was chair of Dulwich College golf course. You know, he was pretty much retired. But he was talking then about Brexit, and he was saying, you know, if Brexit is betrayed, I will have to come back. And he said, you know, it's possible that there's a political sort of revolution happening. Now, it didn't happen then, but could it be that we are seeing it now, or certainly in the next few years? It's hard to know, but it's quite extraordinary, this poll.
And we are seeing poll after poll repeating this trend now. There does seem to be the winds of change blowing. Catherine Fawcett, superb. Thank you very much. Now stick with us, because any moment now we're expecting Donald Trump to meet the Hungarian Prime Minister, Viktor Orban. Live pictures there from the White House. Many leaders have been through those doors. Some have even lived to regret it. We're bringing that live. Don't go anywhere. This is GB News, Britain's #1 news channel. Very good.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Let's cross live now straight to the White House, where President Donald Trump, as you can see on your screen there, just in the nick of time, has meeting and greeting the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban to the White House. Now, of course, they will both see their likeness in each other's eyes, both see themselves as strongmen, nationalists, populists, border protectors, but a huge conversation that's going to be had today, Catherine Forster, who joins me still in the studio, is around oil. Everything in these meetings is about, well, what can you offer me and what do I want in return? Now, what we know Viktor Orban doesn't want are punishing tariffs, the same as every leader that's gone before him. He wants a bit of slack. But in particular, there's a problem for Viktor Orban because he's reliant on a certain dictator.
Yes, indeed. You heard it shouted out there, Russian oil. There are two things that Viktor Orban wants from this meeting with Donald Trump today. The first thing he wants is an exemption for Hungary from US sanctions aimed at Russian oil because, of course, Hungary is still getting large amounts of its energy.
They depend upon it.
From Russia. And his argument is that they've got no viable other alternatives. Slovakia also still getting lots of Russian oil. Now, of course, Donald Trump has taken a much tougher line now and wants European countries in particular to stop buying this stuff from Russia because it's enabling Putin's war machine to keep going. We've heard him talking tough with India and so on. I think it'll be very, very interesting to see if he holds the line on that. But the other thing that Orban really wants is to get Putin and Trump together in Budapest on Hungarian soil for this meeting about Ukraine. They wanted to happen, it fell through. He really wants that because he's got elections coming up next April. That's going to bolster his position at home and help him. And of course, there is a good relationship between the two of them. They both see each other as strong men. I was in Budapest literally a year ago today at the European Political Community meeting, 2 days after Trump was elected. And while most European leaders, to be honest, Trump was their worst nightmare because they're worried about tariffs, they're worried about Ukraine, Viktor Orban was very happy indeed about the election of Donald Trump.
Politically, they share a lot in common on conservative values, on the use of fossil fuels, on LGBTQ issues, on Islam. They've got a lot in common, but it's all about the art of the deal. You know the drill. He's gone through that door now. They're going to have a sit-down meeting, and then there'll be a press conference in a bit. And at that point, anything can happen. Don't go anywhere. Let's move on to our next story now, because by-election success again for Reform UK, as this time the party has secured its first seats in Newark and the Sherwood District Council. That's where my dad lives. Now, Michelle Home won the Castle Wall seat in Newark, defeating the Conservative candidate by just 11 votes, while Kay Smith was elected to represent the Boldton North and the Coddington ward. Let's now speak with the newly minted Reform Councillor for Newark and Sherwood District Council, and that is Kay Smith. Kay, welcome to the show. An area I know well. I'll go to quite a few of the pubs around there with my dad. I wanted to get you on, of course, because Newark, that was meant to be one of the last safe, surviving Conservative areas. Of course, Robert Jenrick is the local parliamentarian. Many see him as potentially a saviour of the Conservative Party. Newark was meant to be true blue and safe. And then you came in.
Yes, good evening, Martin. Yes, indeed, that is the case. It's been a big challenge for us, but we knew we could do it. And for us, this is a tremendous victory. Both of us winning our seats in this by-election. It's more than we, really hoped for to begin with, but it's what we deserve. Yes, it's made history because we are the first Reform UK councillors on Newark and Sherwood District Council, and we're absolutely thrilled and delighted to have conquered.
And Kay Smith, we're seeing poll after poll now, seeing a resetting of the political landscape, and in particular, this is going to be quite painful for Robert Jenrick. This is his backyard. You've parked your tanks on Mr. Jenrick's lawns, quite literally. And what are people telling you on the doorstep about why they've fallen out of love with the Tories? Why is that?
Variety of things, and Michelle and I both did a great deal of knocking on doors. We've knocked on hundreds and hundreds of doors, talking to people about local issues. Now, some of them have wanted to talk to us a little bit about national issues, but mostly we have focused on local issues, and they are disaffected with all of the parties. This is a generalisation because obviously some aren't, but we saw a great deal of disaffection with both Conservative and with Labour, and for a variety of reasons. We very much got the message that they wanted a change, a fresh approach. We campaigned on local issues, but we also put ourselves forward very strongly that regardless of party, we felt we were the best people for the job anyway. So it was a variety of things and a variety of comments that were made to us, and we're looking forward to getting stuck in and getting our feet to the table and looking into it. People were perceiving things that were not working right, and we'd like to see that for ourselves. And
Kay Smith, are you aware? I've heard that Robert Jenrick was helping campaign with the local councillors. Did he even turn up at the count last night?
No, he didn't turn up at the count. I believe he was. I was told he was on the campaign. I've seen photographs of that. I mean, it was very, very important to the Conservatives to win these two seats, and I think they threw just about everything they could at it. They have a well-oiled machine. They're used to this. Terrific. That's good for them. But equally, we rolled out an amazing team of volunteers, both locally in Newark itself. They've been tremendous, but all in the surrounding regions. We've had help from Leicestershire, people from Leicestershire, people within wider Nottinghamshire, including Nottinghamshire County councillors, from Rutland, Leicestershire, Derbyshire, Lincolnshire, all around. So we've had an amazing team.
Okay, can I just interject? A lot of people watching this channel say all the time that Robert Jenrick and Nigel Farage have a great deal in common. The Conservatives and the Reform Party in the area have a great deal in common. Splitting the vote is something that's always talked about. You've gone head-to-head with the Conservative candidate and you've won. Longer term, do you think there could or should be room for Robert Jenrick within the Reform Party?
It's not for me to say. I don't foresee that at all. I totally get the perception of it could split the vote. And in fact, I have been a lifelong Tory voter myself. Very conscious of splitting the vote, and I actually voted, in the last general election because I couldn't quite bring myself at that point. So no, I don't. I think we are a very, very different party, and we see And it's with a heavy heart that I say this, but we see the Conservatives as finished. We are the new kids on the block. We've got fresh ideas. We've got fresh approaches. We've got people who've got experience. Michelle and I campaigned on the fact that we've got very good life experience. And no, we think we're different. We think we're different from Labour, obviously, and different from the Conservatives.
All right, well, it's been fascinating to get you on the show. Quite a victory there. Thanks for joining us. That is Kay Smith, newly minted Reform Councillor there on Newark and Sherwood District Council. Catherine, let's get some reaction to you. It's one by-election. There are loads and loads of by-elections. It's one small council seat, but there is a significance, is there not, in the fact it's the Newark area. Newark, I mean, my father lives around that area. It's been Conservative like forever. It seems that forever grip could be loosening.
Well, yes, and I remember going to a Reform event at the beginning of the year in Kemi Badenoch's seat because they wanted to send a message, we're coming for the Conservatives. Yeah, they are doing very well in these by-elections, picking up council seats here, there and everywhere. But, of course, a lot of the Reform vote so far is based on not being the Conservatives that people feel have let them down, not being Labour that people feel are letting them down, but being something else, making all sorts of very appealing promises. They have got control now of a number of councils and they are going to have to deliver or they will be judged on their record. So already we've seen instances of them hiring very expensive advisors, them not finding the savings that they're saying they can find, and so on and so forth. So, you know, with this is going to come a whole lot of scrutiny for them.
I think you're exactly right. So, okay, let's join now my next guest, and that's the Labour activist, Aisha Ali Khan. Aisha, it's always a pleasure to have your company. It's just a couple of by-elections, but we were carrying a report earlier in the show, a big poll out today, showing that there's something you and I talk about a lot. There seems to be a huge appetite for change, whether that is to Reform, whether that is to the Green Party, whether it is to Jeremy Corbyn's movement. And each little by-election now, do you think it's taking on more of a significance? It's not just about a by-election in a sense. It's giving us an insight into the fact that people, they just want change.
Absolutely, Martin. I think what we're seeing in the last couple of, a year and a half, not even a couple of years, 18 months or so, is the kind of platform that we won, the happiness, the euphoria, it kind of all came crashing down literally within months when we saw this sort of like big black hole, billions missing, taxes were having to, the threat of taxes going up when it was something that the Labour Party kept promising, no, we're not going to put taxes up. Now we're at a reality 18 months later where literally in a matter of weeks, we're going to have Rachel Reeves announce tax increases and all these new measures as well to bring this massive, to fill this massive black hole. And people are getting sick and tired of this, Martin. And I was listening to your colleague Catherine earlier, and absolutely we've got between sort of 2.5 years to go now until potentially the next election, 2.5 to 3.5 years. Anything could happen. People are getting sick and tired of what's going on right now, and obviously the polls are reflecting this. The poll that came out, yes, only 2,717 people took part in that poll. And obviously every single poll since is showing this massive Reform landslide. Labour kind of been pushed from second to third to fourth and now fifth place potentially. And that's without obviously factoring in things like Zara Sultana's party, Jeremy Corbyn's new party. What kind of damage are they going to inflict if they indeed are in a position to contest elections in 2.5 to 3.5 years' time? So it's a very kind of distressing landscape right now. Looking forward.
We have to do that, Aisha Ali Khan. I do wonder if a lot of people listening in might actually be hoping that the Tories and the Reform Party might do some kind of deal. I think it's a totemic and a significant moment here in Newark where maybe there needs to be some sort of wake-up call. I don't know, not for me to say. Aisha Ali Khan, thanks for your expertise. As ever, thank you very, very much indeed. Now, still to come, Boris Johnson says that the BBC Director General, Tim Davie, must explain or resign amid explosive claims of bias at the BBC. And next, the BBC have made another ridiculous claim on BBC Verified. This is GB News.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Through the rest of today, we'll see rain moving eastwards, some mist and fog forming overnight, and for many of us, it will turn that much cloudier as we head into the weekend. We've got low pressure nearby, bringing spells of wet weather, but we've still got relatively mild air, so it will turn a little bit fresher behind the rain across southwestern areas through this evening. Now, after a fairly fine day further north and east, it will turn cloudier and wetter overnight. Fairly light rain, but it will bring a lot of cloud around, so quite a misty evening to come for most of us. And as I said, temperatures falling away behind that area of cloud and rain where skies do become clear. So a little bit of a fresher morning tomorrow morning, but it's still relatively mild for the time of year. So we've still got those southwesterly winds. So probably a bit of a misty, murky start, particularly across high ground. Parts of Scotland seeing some drizzle persisting through the morning and plenty of low cloud around as well. Still some spells of sunshine here and there across parts of Northern Ireland, some northeastern areas of England as well, but it's the south and west where I think we'll see the best of the sunshine first thing on the weekend. That's not to say there won't be sunshine elsewhere later on through the day, as Saturday does look like a fairly bright day for many areas. Plenty of sunny spells. It's still relatively mild out there as well. The winds will start to pick up across western areas of Wales, southwest, particularly Northern Ireland later on in the day. And when we do see any prolonged sunshine, temperatures will climb towards the slightly higher teens, but for many of us we're in the mid-teens. It's a degree or so lower than it has been lately, but still pretty pleasant in the sunshine. Now notice in the west, particularly across Northern Ireland, we're seeing the next batch of rain through Saturday evening, so pretty wet evening to come, and that wet weather will likely push its way eastwards through the rest of the weekend and into the start of next week. There is some uncertainty in the details of that, but it's for sure that it will stay mild wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Here he goes again. Donald Trump speaking at the White House with Viktor Orban.
So that's a big difference. That's a big difference. 25% less Thanksgiving. And I think that's a very good chart. They include everything that you need for Thanksgiving. So it's 25% less this year than it was last year. And that's true. That's emblematic of the rest of prices. Energy prices are way down from what they were last year. Inflation is almost non-existent. We have inflation down to a very low number, whereas Biden, as you know, is the worst inflation in the history of our country. So we're doing very well. We have a shutdown, as you probably know, because the Democrats have gone, they're crazy. They're crazy. But they don't care if they hurt the country. But we've approved it 14 times. We've approved opening up 14 times, and they keep rejecting it. And I guess maybe they will again. Let's see what happens. They want to have a lot of bad things happen, bad things for our country. We're not going to give $1.5 trillion to people that came into our country illegally. We're not going to do it. To people came from prisons. They came from mental institutions. They're drug dealers. They want to give them medical care. $1.5 trillion. And we're not going to do other things that they're requesting also. So I just want to welcome this really good person. I know him very well. He's a good person, and he's a great leader, and he's loved in his country. And Victor, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you very much, President.
Thank you.
First of all, may I say that thank you very much for the invitation. It's good to see you, President, back to the White House. And good to be back after 6 years, anyway, again, to see you here.
Yeah.
As we have met last time. The reason why we are here to open a new chapter between the bilateral relation of the United States and Hungary, basically because during the Democrat administration, everything was ruined. So after your leaving president, everything was basically blocked, ruined, cancelled, a lot of harm done by the previous administration. In the last 10 months, President, what you have done, we are very much grateful for that. You restored the old level of the relationship. You improved the bilateral relation. You repair what was done badly by the previous administration. So now we are in quite a good position to open up a new chapter, let's say a golden age between United States and Hungary, and we have plenty of suggestions for today: economic cooperation, military cooperation, and political cooperation. And the main issue, probably, President, we are neighboring Ukraine, which is in war. It's the most important issue for us, and we would like to discuss with you how we can contribute to help you in your peace efforts.
That's why we are here. You've taken a lot of Ukrainians that needed your help, and you've taken a lot of them in your country, and everybody appreciates that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we do our best.
Thank you very much. Any questions, please? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Orban has requested an exemption as it relates to oil that is coming from Russia. Is that something that you are prepared to do? And may I ask Mr. Orban a question in regards to that very issue?
Sure. We're looking at it because it's very difficult for him to get the oil and gas from other areas. As you know, they don't have the advantage of having sea. It's a great country. It's a big country, but they don't have sea. They don't have the ports. And so they have a difficult problem. There's another country that has that same problem, by the way. But when you look at what's happened with Europe, many of those countries, they don't have those problems, and they buy a lot of oil and gas from Russia. And as they know, I'm very disturbed by that because we're helping them, and they're going and buying oil and gas from Russia. So that question could be really asked maybe more accurately if you talked about many European countries, not Hungary necessarily, because Hungary is in a different position. But many European countries are buying oil and gas from Russia, and they have been for years. And I say, what's that all about, right? Thank you.
So that will be one of the issues for today, to explain clearly what would be the consequences for the Hungarian people and for the Hungarian economy not to get oil and gas from Russia, because we are supplied by pipelines. Pipeline is not an ideological or political issue. It's a physical reality because we don't have port, exactly as the President explained to you. So we will negotiate on that point. It's vital for us anyway.
Mr. Orban, there are two pipelines, as I understand it. There's a pipeline from Ukraine and there's a pipeline from Croatia. And my understanding is that the pipeline from Croatia can provide all of Hungary's energy needs. As a result, why would you need an exemption if that's the case?
Okay. So when we discuss that issue, you should separate the gas and the oil. On the gas issue, which is very important for us, 90% of the Hungarian households based on heating system based on gas. So we have only one pipeline delivering gas to Hungary, which is the main pipeline, the Turkish one. What we got from Croatia is a very small volume supplementary gas pipeline. Okay, that's gas. Oil is another issue. So oil is coming from the Druzhba pipeline, which is the main supply, and that is the Croatian one, which is the secondary and supplementary pipeline. We would like to convince the Croatian government to enlarge it and make it possible to deliver more. Under these circumstances, it cannot be the main pipeline. It's just supplementary. But later on, with some big investments, it could serve better the interest of Hungary.
Yes, please go ahead.
President, thank you. Many people see this meeting not just as an encounter in two countries, but as the symbol of the strengthening of a new conservative world alliance. Would you agree with that interpretation? And how do you see the future of Europe in the light of leaders like Viktor Orban stand up to Brussels bureaucracy and the globalist agenda?
Are you from Hungary?
Yes, I am.
I figured. The fact is that he's a great leader, and he's respected all over, not necessarily liked by some of the leaders, but, you know, those leaders have proven to be wrong. If you look at his stance on immigration and other things, you know, if you look at Europe, they've made tremendous mistakes on immigration. It's really hurting them very badly. He has not made a mistake on immigration. So he's respected by everybody. He's liked by some. And I can tell you, I like and respect. I'm a double. I like and respect him. And that's the way Hungary is being led. They're being led properly. And that's why he's going to be very successful in his upcoming election.
May I have a comment on that? Language is important because the Anglo-Saxon terminology is different from the European one. So to use categories can create some misunderstanding. So I would like to be clear as much as we can. We are the only government in Europe which considers itself as a modern Christian government. All the other governments in Europe are basically liberal leftist governments. So we try to do something from 2010 which is different from what the others are doing, even at the philosophical level and at the level of practice as well, as just the president described it, like migration. So we are kind of a special island of difference in a liberal ocean in Europe. And we consider ourselves as a modern Christian government. That's the proper category to describe what we are doing.
To both of you.
We're talking, but we'll report on that later. Meetings with Putin. We were talking about that with Victor. He understands Putin and knows him very well. And I feel that, I'm going to let you say what you think, but I think that Victor feels we're going to get that war ended in the not too distant future. Victor, do you want to talk about that?
Well, I'm strongly convinced. So the question is whether we Westerners are unified or not. The problem is that the president has huge peace efforts, which are just splendid and very positive for the European continent and all the peoples of Europe. But at the same time, we are not unified because Brussels and the Europeans have a different approach to the war. So the only pro-peace government is the United States government and the small Hungary in Europe anyway. All the other governments prefer to continue the war because many of them think that Ukraine can win on the front line, which is a misunderstanding of the situation. So it's a complicated issue. We will discuss it. It requests not just 2 minutes to respond to your question, but rather than our lecture. Sorry, not to continue more than that.
To both of you.
So you would say that Ukraine cannot win that war?
You know, miracle can happen.
Yeah, that's right.
Mr. President,
Thank you, Mr. President. What is your message to the EU? Because from Hungary and the EU want to impose their woke policies on Hungary. What is your message?
Well, I think they should respect Hungary and respect this leader very, very strongly because he's been right on immigration. Look what's happened to Europe with the immigration. They have people flooding Europe all over the place, and it's hurting it. It's the crime rates are way up. A lot of bad things are happening. His crime rates are very low. They're the same as they always were, which is very little crime because he's kept it the way it should be. Europe, I mean, I don't want to go into individual countries. They're all friends of mine, everyone. As you know, in NATO, they voted to go from 2% to 5%, and, you know, that nobody thought that was possible. And we had just about almost, other than Spain, a unanimous vote. No, I think that I think they respect him a lot. They don't agree with him, but actually, inwardly, I think they probably do agree. He was right on immigration. They were wrong. They are flooding Europe with people from all over the world, and Europe is becoming a different place. And I tell the leaders all the time, you better stop or you're not going to have Europe anymore. It's a very dangerous thing they're doing.
May I have a reflection on that? So on migration issue, just for clarification, in Hungary, the number of illegal migration is like that, zero, because we have a crystal clear system. If somebody would like to come to Hungary, first he should ask for that. If he gives the permission, they can step in. Nobody can step on the territory of Hungary without having a permission from the Hungarian authorities. This is the regulation, simple, while working. What is the consequence of that? We are under sanctions, financial sanctions of European Union, because we don't let the illegal migrations to come to Hungary and to the European Union as well. So we have to pay, just to inform you, we have to pay every day €1 million as a punishment to the Brazilian budget because they stopped the migrants. This is the absurd world we are living now in Europe.
Mr. President. To both of you.
Go ahead, please.
Jill?
Yes,
Thank
go
you
ahead.
so much. Thank you. I'd like to ask what do you think, what do you believe after this meeting? Can you have maybe, or the European Union will have another opinion about, just because of this penalty, another opinion about Hungary because of the immigration and because of this kind of politics, which is not that strictly as the European Union directs. What do you believe?
Yeah, where are you from?
I'm from Hungary.
Okay. I do have that conversation with them, and I respect and like them. They're all friends of mine. I think pretty much every single leader in Europe is a friend of mine. We get along really well. They've done everything I've asked them to do with NATO, etc. The only thing they continue to do is buy oil from Russia. That's not too good. But I told them they should respect this man. They can also learn from Victor. Victor has had a very hard stance on, more than anything else, immigration or even illegal immigration. He literally has accepted no one over the years. Think of how much greater these countries would be if they didn't have the tremendous crime that has come in with the immigration. People just flowing into Europe. They've got to stop it. And not only stop it, they have to reverse it. They have to get them out. We've done that here. We have 0 people coming in now. The borders are closed. We take people, but we take them legally. But we've done it very strongly, and we're moving hundreds of thousands, millions of people out. We had, of the 20 million people, 25 million, nobody knows even what the number is. They never knew. Biden had no idea. He had no idea. I don't believe he had any idea what was happening because he wasn't about open borders. But we had open borders, and we had millions of people come in, and they were coming in from jails. They were coming in from mental institutions. They were coming in as drug dealers. We had 11,888 murderers. Half of them committed more than one murder. We're getting them all out. We're getting them out. He doesn't have that problem, but Europe does have that problem. Other parts of Europe have that problem. So, I tell them all the time, I stick up for Viktor Orban. Not a lot of people do because in many cases they're jealous. They wish they did what he did. They would have no problems if they did what he did. And I have a bigger heart than anybody, but, they've destroyed some of those countries. Some of those countries had no crime 10 years ago, and now they have quite a bit of crime. And I would say that I don't know anything about your crime levels, but I would imagine they're very low. Huh?
Donald Trump there at the White House with Viktor Orban. Quite the bromance, quite the love-in. They clearly are political bedfellows. Looks like Orban might get that exemption on Putin's oil and gas after all. Donald Trump there said, I like all the European leaders. They do exactly what I tell them to. No bigger show there you'll ever see. Up next is Tubes & Co. Tonight is hosted by Miriam Cates. It's going to be magnificent. Don't go anywhere, and I'll see you on Monday.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the UK. We're truly humbled, and we couldn't have done it without you.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. An incident on the A483 between Welshpool and Llanymynech causes local diversions. In Cheshire East, a collision at the M56 eastbound slip junction, 7 keeps all lanes closed. The A38 in Staffordshire faces congestion between Burton-upon-Trent South and the A5132, causing delays. Norfolk's A47 eastbound has a 30-minute delay. In Northamptonshire, the A45 eastbound is closed between the A6 and A14 due to a collision. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast has disruptions between Birmingham New Street and Birmingham International. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
We could be delivering the perfect Christmas to you this year. There's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 the best year yet. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family. There's £1,000 to spend in your favourite supermarket. And a festively themed GB News goodie bag. And we'll get it all to you in time for the big day. For a chance to win,